Important update about YouTube playlists. Hey everyone. We've received many messages asking why our YouTube playlists aren't showing up. Do we create YouTube playlists? Yes, we absolutely do. So why can't you see them? Honestly, we're not sure. We've been in contact with YouTube support for several months now, but we still haven't received a clear answer or solution. After much discussion, our team has decided to take matters into our own hands. We believe the issue might be related to the number of playlists we've created on a single channel, possibly too many. Our solution? We're launching 2 additional YouTube channels, giving us a total of 3. This way, we can organize our audiobooks better and avoid the playlist visibility issue in the future. This change only affects our YouTube audience. If you're a patron supporter, you can still access all our audiobooks by visiting the collection menu on Patreon. Thanks so much for your time and continued support. Happy listening. Rinji turned to Kuro. Looks like you're injured too. Want me to treat it? No need. I can handle it myself. Kuro slammed his left hand against his mangled right arm and instantly restored it. By twisting it in the opposite direction, he corrected the damage. Kuro had fully mastered his technique. Come to think of it, your company has no one but you, said Shin, turning to Rinji. You don't have a dedicated fighter, right? Are you planning to enter the tournament yourself? You mean Old Man Katahara's deadly elimination tournament? Honestly, I'm not interested. Rinji smiled. Although that old man did invite me. Not as a fighter, though. You'll find out what for when the tournament starts. Always so secretive. I wonder what kind of scheme you people are up to. Shin pulled out a pack of cigarettes, lit one, and offered a light to Rinji, who had also pulled one out. Blowing smoke, she asked, since you're close to Chairman Katahara, I assume you've heard of the fifth fang of Metsudo? You mean Kana Achito? Yeah, I know him. How strong is he? Shin gestured at Kuro. Compared to this guy? Achito's alright. But if the one behind you wants to beat him, he'll need to train more. Rinji exhaled a smoke ring. Not that it's impossible. That's good to hear. Still, I'm curious. With your strength, if you joined Kengan matches, wouldn't you make a fortune? True. But that bit of profit isn't enough to justify being made a monkey for those corporate scumbags. Who knows, if I'm in a bad mood one day, I might just wipe out the crowd after defeating my opponent. This boy with the gentle face. Shin knew full well he was no ordinary good guy. Leaving Koya Girls University, Rinji held in his hands a complete set of bodyweight muscle training materials that Toshio had given him. Included with it was a signed photo that looked obnoxiously flashy. Honestly, a little disgusting. But Rinji didn't really care. He just wanted it for home workouts. His goal was to become an intimidating muscle-bound man before summer vacation ended. Ever since Old Man Katahara announced the launch of the Kengan Sudden Death Elimination Tournament, many major Japanese corporations, even some foreign companies, had started to stir. They began searching all over the world for powerful fighters, not caring whether the person was a murderer or something else. As long as they were strong enough, companies would go to great lengths to recruit them, no matter the cost. The existence of the Kengan Association had caused these businesses, which could otherwise rely on market competition or strategic planning, to abandon intellectual approaches altogether and instead focus entirely on finding the strongest individuals. To be honest, Rinji couldn't understand how the Kengan Association had managed to survive from ancient times to the present. Using fists to settle business disputes by simplifying market competition seemed utterly meaningless in the long run, and even risked accelerating economic crises. But since Japan liked playing around like this, Rinji had no intention of interfering. BZT. His phone suddenly buzzed in his pocket. Rinji pulled it out and saw that it was his grandfather calling. That was odd. Normally his grandfather wouldn't call unless something had gone seriously wrong. With a slightly uneasy expression, Rinji answered the call. Hello? Hello? Rinji? Yes, Grandpa. Did something happen over there? Ah. You could say it's kind of a big deal. The moment he heard big deal, Rinji's expression turned serious. What is it? Are you being hunted down? Did you run into an enemy organization? Or did the CIA finally track you down in Japan? Damn it, I knew those fucking stalkers liked getting themselves killed. No, it's not that kind of thing. Then what is it? Rinji. Do you have any money on you? I do. Did you eat and forget your wallet? Just have one of your old girlfriends in Japan pay for you. If I could get them to pay, would I be calling you? What, they're broke or? Oh. I get it. Rinji's expression instantly filled with exasperation. You went out to sleep with prostitutes, didn't you? Rinji, how can you say something so vulgar? I'm done. I'm telling Grandma. Wait, let's talk this over. Where are you? Kabukicho, Tokyo. 5th floor of the Golden Entertainment Club. Please come save me. Alright, I'm on my way. Hang in there. Rinji hung up the phone and checked the time. I'll eat first. Chapter 141, Why didn't you hit him? Takuman Renji never liked going to places like red light districts. Even back during his time fighting all over the place, his subordinates would often ask, Lieutenant, wanna go blow off some steam somewhere? And he always flat out refused. Of course he wouldn't go. He was just a kid back then. Now that he was 16, he still had no interest in such places. He didn't understand why his grandfather was always so passionate about them either. The second reason he hated these places? Because the moment he arrived, this always happened. Oh, what a cute little boy. Wanna go have fun with Big Sis? He's really adorable. Let me pinch your cheeks. A bunch of scantily clad women crowded around him. One mature-looking woman even hugged him from behind, smothering his head with her overly large breasts. Ladies, I'm underage. Coming to a place like this before turning legal? You naughty little thing. Here's my number. Call me if you ever want to play privately. Gold Entertainment Club, flagship venue of the Gold Pleasure Group, was essentially a high-end brothel. The women inside were all quite attractive. No wonder Grandpa liked it here so much. Rinji swatted their hands away and patiently asked, Excuse me, where is the president's office? 5th floor. Take the elevator, then turn right. Thanks. Breaking free from the crowd, Rinji rushed into the elevator and hit the button for the 5th floor. He sniffed himself. Any semblance of a masculine aura, not that he had much, had been completely drowned out by their heavy perfume. The elevator doors opened. He turned right and came to the president's office. After hesitating slightly, he knocked. Knock knock knock. Click. The door opened to reveal a slick back-haired man in his 20s, around 179 centimeters tall. Just slightly taller than Rinji. With a very balanced and muscular build. His hairstyle reminded Rinji of a certain manga character. Something like Hakaya What's His Gay? Is my grandpa in there? Old guy, kind of a sleazy bag. The man didn't respond verbally. Just pointed indifferently toward the room. Rinji noticed a faint trace of blood on his shirt. You beat my grandpa. He's fine. Fine? The guy came here for sex and didn't pay, and you didn't even break his legs? What kind of club is this? I'm serious. Go in there and beat him up. Don't hold back just because I'm family. Hey. Rinji. You really want to see your grandpa suffer in his old age? His grandfather's voice came from inside. Rinji sighed and walked past the man into the room. You already know you're too old for this and you still came here. The room was luxuriously decorated like a bedroom. In the center sat a low table, and his grandfather was sipping tea across from a beautiful young woman. Seeing Rinji enter, the old man put down his cup and smiled. Oh, Rinji, you're finally here. Ah, Grandpa, I'm so relieved to see you're all right. Monotone, Rinji said, completely expressionless. The elegant young woman stood up and greeted him warmly. Hello, little one. You must be this gentleman's grandson? I wish I weren't. How much does he owe you? I'll pay it. It's a small amount, not worth worrying about. She smiled. Let me introduce myself, I'm Koroshi Rhino, CEO of Gold Pleasure Group. That man behind you is Mekazuchi Ray. Mr. Takuman Rinji. Oh? You know my name? Of course. Everyone in the Kengan Association is curious about your relationship with Chairman Katahara. Ah, so you're a Kengan member too. Gold Pleasure Group specialized in nightlife businesses. A fancy way of saying brothels. Despite that, it ranked very high in the Kengan Association. Their rapid growth was thanks entirely to the woman before him. She was known as the Queen of the Night. A revolutionary in the nightlife industry. That guy behind you. Mikazuchi Ray. He's your fighter, right? Rinji asked. So the moment the Kengan Sudden Death Elimination Tournament was announced, these CEOs started making moves. Everyone wanted to be the new chairman. Yes. He is quite strong. Humphrey, still a bit below me. Grandpa said coolly as he sipped his tea. Mikazuchi Ray and Grandpa exchanged glances, clearly itching for round two. I only stopped because I was ordered to. Mikazuchi said coldly. Otherwise, you'd already be in the hospital. Young man, you might be strong for your age, but I've still got fight in me. Grandpa's eyes gleamed as his aura flared. Rinji had heard stories from his father about Grandpa's younger days. Apparently, he used to be pretty formidable. Grandpa, I'm going to tell Grandma about this. Let's see how sharp your blade is after that. Wait. I was joking. That intimidating front immediately crumbled. Koroshi Rhino stepped up to Rinji, gently touched his lips with a slender finger, and smiled. The next time we meet will be at the sudden death tournament. I'm really looking forward to seeing you again, little Rinji." With that, she and Mikazuchi left the room. Grandpa watched her go and chuckled. "What a fine woman. Rinji, if you can win her heart, maybe I'll get a discount next time I come here." "Grandpa, turn around. You've got something on your back." Without suspicion, the old man turned around. And in that instant, FWMP. Rinji clapped a towel over his nose. Miles per hour. A few seconds later, Grandpa collapsed asleep onto the table. Rinji pulled out his phone and made a call. "Hello? 5th floor, Gold Entertainment Club. Pick up the old guy and make sure he is tied up tight." Chapter 142, Elders. There were only a few days left before the Kengan Sudden Death Tournament, but Rinji had no intention of preparing. He wasn't participating, after all. He was just betting small amounts on the matches. Small compared to the major plan he was working on with Katahiro Matsudo. He had thought about using the time to visit various participating companies and scout their fighters in advance. That way he'd have better odds on his bets. But it was a hassle. Rinji had to see someone in person to properly assess their strength. And with the Kengan Association's massive membership, it was like trying to count the stars in the sky. After the A group arrived to escort his unconscious grandfather out, Rinji also left the Gold Entertainment Club. It was already getting dark. He thought about calling Shire again to ask how things were going at the bank, but figured there wasn't much to worry about. Even if things went sideways. So what? Just as he was about to head home and rest, his phone buzzed. It was a message from Momo. "Where are you now?" Rinji paused. This was the first message she'd sent him all summer. "Kabukicho, outside the Gold Entertainment Club, you went to a nightclub." "No, just picking someone up." Family embarrassment. "Can't explain, perfect? I'm in Kabukicho too." "Stay where you are. I'm coming to find you." Okay, he wasn't sure why Momo was looking for him, but he had nothing else to do, so he stayed put. Not long after, a sleek black car pulled up in front of him. The back window rolled down, and Momo poked her head out. "Get in." "Okay." Rinji opened the door and climbed into the back seat. Today, Momo was dressed rather lightly. But given it was summer vacation and the weather was hot, that was perfectly normal. "Senpai, did you need something from me?" Rinji asked. "I do." Momo replied. "Originally, I was going to your place to pick you up, but since you're already in Kabukicho, that makes things easier. My father wants to meet you. And one of your elders is there too." "Huh?" A few minutes later, the car pulled up next to a massive traditional Japanese estate. Momo and Takam and Rinji stepped through the large gate. Along the long hallway stood rows of suited, intimidating men. Clearly Yakuza. Upon seeing the two of them, they bowed in unison. "These are all members of your group, Senpai? Not just the Ryujuzu group." Momo explained. "There are other Yakuza groups from all over the Kanto region here today." "I see. You go in first. I'm going to change." Momo turned and walked off. Rinji glanced briefly at the Yakuza around them before heading into the building. As soon as he opened the door, he saw a long table where several people sat kneeling on tatami mats. Every single one of them was a leader of a major Kanto Yakuza group. "Rinji, it's been a while." Rinji turned toward the familiar voice and saw a woman in a purple kimono approaching him. She looked to be in her early 30s, exuding mature charm. "Aunt Yukio? Come on in, Rinji." The woman, called Yukio by Rinji, gently patted his head and led him to a seat at the long table. One chair was clearly reserved just for him. Her full name was Washimin Yukio, the leader of the Washimin Group, the largest Yakuza organization in the Kanto region. She had looked after Rinji when he first came to Japan and was once sworn siblings with Rinji's father. So she was a senior relative in all but blood. "Well, Rinji, been a long time," said the man across from him. A scar-faced middle-aged man and none other than Momo's father. "Yes, it's been 4 years. I hear you're attending the same school as Momo now?" "Yeah. We're both at Shuchen. I'm also part of Senpai's astronomy club." "Haha, that's great. That little rascal could use your guidance. Shouldn't it be her guiding me?" Before Rinji could finish, Momo opened the door and entered the room. She had changed out of her revealing summer outfit and was now dressed in a proper kimono. She kneeled next to Rinji at the table. "Uncle Ryujo. Aunt Yukio." Rinji glanced around at the gathered heads of Kanto's major Yakuza and asked, "With all these important people here, is something wrong?" "There is, actually." Washimin Yukio replied. The Ryujuka patriarch spoke up. "Rinji, do you remember the group that kidnapped Momo 4 years ago?" 4 years ago. Rinji looked at Momo. Back then, he had worked with the Ryujuka group as part of a small project. That's also when he first met Momo. She had been kidnapped by a rival organization, and it was Renji who had rescued her. You mean the Tojo group? Yes. You're saying they've returned? Renji frowned. That's impossible. Back then, I made sure to wipe them all out myself. The Tojo group had kidnapped Momo to force her father to hand over some plots of land. To secure continued cooperation with the Ryujika group, Renji had taken it upon himself to investigate and eliminate the entire organization. He didn't leave a single survivor. Even those hiding at home were taken out. He'd blown up entire rooms with the people inside. He even hung the heads of the group's leader and subordinates at their compound's gate. No. The Ryujika had replied. They haven't come back. But we've recently uncovered information about the force behind them. Behind them? Yes. At the time, they kidnapped Momo for a few undeveloped plots of land, but those weren't worth much to a Yakuza group. So I always felt something wasn't right. He said seriously. Over the past 4 years, we've been investigating this. And we finally learned who is behind it. Who? A company called Toyo Electric Power. Chapter 143, I can accept her since Toyo Electric Power. I've heard of them, said Renji. He immediately knew who they were. A massive real estate and industrial conglomerate in Japan. Though their assets weren't limited to Japan. They operated mainly overseas, since factories require huge land areas and Japan simply didn't have the space. Renji had dealt with them briefly 2 years ago, during which a small conflict occurred. For their company to grow, they have to expand, and those land parcels are essential to that. Renji explained. Their CEO, Ayami Katsumasa, is ruthless. He often bribes underworld types to threaten landowners who won't sell. Or outright threatens their families. So he used the Tojo group to kidnap Momo to make me hand over the land? That's likely. Land means nothing to small Yakuza groups. Unless someone was backing them from the shadows. Renji rubbed his temples. Back then, his collaboration with the Ryujika group was just a personnel training project. Not very lucrative. But it was his first job after arriving in Japan, so he took it seriously. The kidnapping had caused internal strife within the Ryujika group. So to keep business going, he had personally wiped the Tojo group out from top to bottom. He thought it was over. But now, 4 years later, it turned out there had been a powerful corporation pulling the strings. Renji, this is a major problem, said the Ryujika patriarch. Toyo Electric is huge and ruthless. They won't give up just because of one failure. That's why I want to unite several Kando groups to oppose them. Renji was a little stunned. He looked at Yukio, his eyes silently asking, do they not know who I am? Yukio gave a gentle smile and shook her head. He understood. These people only knew he was some local branch project lead. I'll handle this myself. Renji said calmly. All of you just make sure Toyo Electric doesn't get any openings. Their real goal is your land, Uncle Ryujika, so make sure Momo's security is tight. TCH. Momo gave him a sidelong glance. I thought you were going to personally protect me. Rather than guarding you directly, I'll remove the root cause. That's the most efficient solution. He completely missed the hint in her tone. There's about a month until school starts. That's when they'll likely make a move. So I'll resolve everything by then. A month? But don't worry. Renji said with a smile. By the end of summer, there won't be a Toyo Electric Power anymore. After summoning all the Yakuza leaders, the Ryujika patriarch naturally hosted a banquet. Yukio held her wineglass with elegance, laughing and conversing with the other bosses. Though she was the youngest among them. And a woman. She was the undisputed leader of the most powerful Yakuza group in Kando. She had inherited the group back in high school and grown it from a minor gang into a dominant force. In the underworld, she was a legend. Momo sat beside Renji, with the refined elegance of a true heiress. It was hard to imagine she was the same girl who slacked off at school, playing mobile games on a beanbag after club activities. She was pouring him a drink. Okay, it was just cola. Could you pour me some sake? Shut it. You're underage. Renji was used to her temper. After dinner, the leaders left with their entourages. Yukio smiled and invited Renji to visit her place sometime. She always doted on him since he arrived in Japan. Perhaps too much. But Renji didn't think much of it. He had plenty of doting aunts. After dinner, he sat outside on a garden recliner, staring at the moon. Not for any sentimental reason. Just resting. So this is where you were. Still in her kimono, Momo walked up and sat beside him naturally. They'd known each other for 4 years. Longer than he'd known Ai Asaka. I thought you went back to your room, senpai. It was stuffy inside, so I came out. Momo said. She hadn't really paid much attention to the conversation about Toyo Electric and the rest of the mess earlier. Like most Shuchen students, she came from a noble family but wasn't that involved in its affairs. Yet. But unlike most, she had been kidnapped 4 years ago. That experience taught her that family business wasn't something she could completely ignore. You used to be so proud and untouchable. How'd you turn into such a dork? Dork? I think I'm still sharp as ever. Really? Is that why you got so elegantly rejected when you confessed? You really love bringing that up, huh, senpai? Rinji smiled wryly. Ever since hearing about his failed confession from 4 years ago, Momo kept teasing him about it. She looked at his expression, then suddenly stood up, walked over, and grabbed him by the collar. Of course you were rejected. Most girls wouldn't keep talking to someone after hearing the things you've done. That's true. Rinji had always been someone who gave up on morality in pursuit of profit. He knew a guy like him dreaming of love was wishful thinking. Then Momo suddenly pulled his collar, yanking him close. Their faces were now barely a hand's width apart. But you don't need to worry, she whispered. Because I can accept your sins. Chapter 144, You are the best woman but you don't need to worry. Because I can accept your sins. Under the night sky, Ryuji Momo grabbed Rinji's collar. Their faces were extremely close. Barely a fist's distance apart. Rinji could clearly feel the warmth of Momo's breath brushing against his skin. My sins, huh? Yes. Momo had a faintly devilish smile on her face. You're the kind of person who knows they're doing wrong and still does it anyway. Deep down, you probably realize that continuing this way will only drive others away from you, but you're not the type to change for the sake of how others see you. Should I say? You really understand me? Rinji looked at her with a faint smile. Like you said, I know what kind of person I am. I'm also fully aware that anyone who once got along with me would eventually leave once they see my true self. But I've never tried to hide that. If they choose to leave, I'll accept it. That's why I said. You don't need to worry about any of it. Momo tightened her grip, and the two faces that were already close now touched at the bridge of their noses. I will accept your sins. And the only one who can accept them is me. Is that so? After a moment of surprise, Rinji smiled softly. Thank you. TCH. Momo suddenly let go. Rinji leaned back on the bench. After all that, all I get is a thank you? You really are a boring man. She didn't look back. She simply said goodnight and walked away. Momo-senpai. Rinji called out after her. She paused and turned to glance at him blankly. You're the most amazing woman I've ever known. At least. To me. Humphrey. Idiot. With that, she turned and walked out of sight. What Rinji didn't notice was the slight upward curve at the corners of her mouth as she walked away. President, how's work going lately? Still holding on. Sitting in the office with my nerves constantly on edge, but at least no one's come to give me trouble. 2 days later, Rinji gave Shirogane Miyuki a call. After all, it was Rinji who'd introduced him to the job, so he figured he should at least check in. By the 3rd day, Miyuki was already under immense mental pressure. Although the job involved just sitting at a desk, any actual problem that arose would require him to think of 1,000 solutions. To prepare for that possibility, he had stayed up several nights reading finance books and mentally simulating every kind of banking crisis. Don't stress too much, President. No, this stress is your fault. Even if you mess up, it's not that big of a deal. At worst, Japan's economy gets shaken a little. No biggie. That is a huge deal. Miyuki roared. He knew Rinji was practically perfect in every way, but every conversation with him felt like talking to someone from a different dimension. It was exhausting. Besides, President, isn't it boring to just sit around all day? You're the bank manager. Change the policy however you like. You think I dare? Why wouldn't you? You're the boss. This is social practice. If you don't take action, what's the point? That whole better safe than sorry mindset will get you nowhere. I'll try. Miyuki sighed. This pressure would last until the end of summer. Once summer ends, you'll come out stronger. Rinji said cheerfully. By the way, President, I'm going on a 2-week trip. When I'm back, I'll come check on you. If you run into any issues, I'll give you a contact. He's a finance expert. All right. After hanging up, Miyuki received a line message from Rinji. Looking at the numbers +1 country code, he was stunned. An American number? You want me to call someone in the US? In English? Above the number was a name, Wilson. Who the hell is that? Elsewhere. Rinji stood at a harbor, slipping his phone into his pocket. Around him were several burly men in black. Bodyguards. And an old man who looked frail but was surprisingly spirited. Young Rinji, how's my bank doing? Almost bankrupt. Oh ho ho, that's impossible. With my luck, even a high school student could run it without any issues. As he spoke, a glint of confidence shone in Katahira Metsudo's eyes. Maybe I'll even turn a profit. You're always so confident about your luck, old man. But of course. Matsudo chuckled. Crisis always means both danger and opportunity. And every time I've faced one, the danger part vanished, leaving only opportunity. Even someone as dangerous as you, Renji, is standing beside me. Proof that my luck is unshakable. Well, that's impressive, you geezer. Let's leave it at that. Time to board the ship. He turned his gaze toward the massive cruise ship docked at the harbor. This vessel was 380 meters long and weighed over 250,000 tons. Said to be the largest cruise ship ever built. It had everything on board, from restaurants to casinos. It was specifically built for the Kengan tournament and was called the SS Kengan. Renji and the others boarded. Standing on the deck, he looked up at the towering vessel and remarked, "What a ship. If you like it, Renji, I can give it to you once the tournament ends." "No thanks. Not interested. Now if you gave me an aircraft carrier, maybe I'd be excited." Everyone boarded. Renji and Matsudo stood on the deck, gazing out toward the harbor. It was packed with people. All those are the fighters and company reps for the Kengan Elimination Tournament. 151 companies in total. Matsudo said as he looked down at the crowd. But fewer than half will make it to the main event. Your job, Renji, is to make the tournament more exciting, right? Renji's eyes landed on a few figures hiding among the crowd, and a cruel smile played on his lips. Chapter 145, No one can bargain with me, Mr. Takuman, so you've already arrived? A voice sounded behind Takuman Renji. He turned around and saw a woman in an office suit. Akiyama-kt. Miss Akiyama, you're already here? Yes. I came with President Nogi. Akiyama kept her distance from Renji. Not out of fear of him, but of the old man standing beside him, Katahiro Matsudo. Renji followed her gaze and saw Nogi Hideki and Yamashita Kazuo finally arriving a little late. Mr. Takuman. Mr. Yamashita, huh? Honestly, I thought you wouldn't come. Renji smiled. But if you're here, that must mean Takata Oma is here too, right? Yes, Mr. Oma is here. Yamashita replied awkwardly, scratching the back of his head. Where is he? He hasn't boarded yet. Yamashita said. Seems like the fighters for the elimination round are boarding a different ship. Elimination round? Renji looked slightly surprised. The fighters participating in the pre-tournament eliminations were generally representatives of newer companies without any established track record. But the Nogi group was an old, veteran member of the Kengan Association. There shouldn't be any need for them to participate in preliminaries. Takata Oma is no longer my company's fighter. The one who answered was Nogi Hideki, who was smoking a cigar. He's not your fighter anymore? Yeah. I fired him right after he beat Kana Achido. Nogi said with a grin. I have a new fighter now. What a pity. I was thinking I might recruit him as a Mono Pharmaceuticals representative. Which company does he belong to now? Nogi chuckled and pointed at the man shivering beside him. Yamashita Kazuo. Mr. Yamashita? You started a company? And not exactly. Because of various circumstances. Yamashita laughed nervously, then drooped his head in defeat. I was forced to establish Yamashita Trading Company. I see. Renji understood Nogi's intentions. A company may only register one fighter for the Kengan matches. The winner of the tournament can appoint the next chairman of the Kengan Association. So, if a sponsor values two fighters, the best strategy is to split them between two companies. One for each fighter. Since Yamashita was Nogi's subordinate, it meant that no matter whether Nogi Group or Yamashita Trading won, Nogi Hideki could still designate himself as chairman, raising his odds of winning. This was the true face of Kengan matches. While it appeared to be a battle between fighters, the scheming among companies started long before the matches even began. The elimination round is on another ship. Then that means... Standing on the deck, Renji looked toward the coastline. And indeed saw another vessel. A much smaller, older, even somewhat dilapidated ship that looked like it could sink any moment. That ship is the elimination round venue. We call it the SS Annihilation, Katahiro Matsudo explained. The newer, unproven companies need to win in the preliminaries aboard that ship to qualify for the main tournament. I see. Seeing Renji's calm expression, Matsudo let out a chuckle. There are 151 companies in total. Though that sounds like a lot, all of them are fairly well known in Japan. After all, just to participate in the Kengan Elimination Tournament I'm hosting, each company must pay an entry fee of 5 billion yen. If they win, great. If they lose, they kiss that money goodbye. I see. Renji laughed. Looks like 28 companies go directly into the main tournament, while 151 go through prelims. That's 179 companies total. Only one will be the final winner. So even if you lose your position as chairman of the Kengan Association, you'll still net 890 billion yen in entry fees. If I win, then not only do I keep my position as chairman, I also walk away with all that money. But of course, a portion of it will go to you. Matsudo said with a grin, stroking his beard. So? Takeman Renji looked toward the Annihilation ship and asked, what do you want me to do? Thin out the number of participants. Only a few need to make it through the preliminary round. Katahiro Matsudo said as he raised 3 fingers. Take out one person, and we'll divert 2 billion yen out of the 5 billion bounty to your company, Amano Pharmaceuticals. Make it 3 billion. That's too much. 2.5 billion, max. No one negotiates with me. Fine. 3 billion it is. Deal. Renji stretched lazily, preparing to leave the ship and head to the other one. So how many of the 151 companies do you want to leave for the main event? Let me think. Might as well make it a clean number. Let's have 32 companies in the main event, and leave just 4 from the prelims. Sounds good. Out of the 151 participating companies in the preliminaries, only 4 would make it through. Oh, right. Katahiro Matsudo suddenly thought of something and stopped Renji. What is it? Hold back your strength a bit. After all, your performance is scheduled for the main event. Hearing that, Renji chuckled and waved casually. Don't worry. I won't even show half my strength. After disembarking from the Kengan ship, Renji made his way to the decrepit Annihilation vessel. Outside the hatch, combatants representing their companies were steadily entering. Mr. Takeman? Oh, Miss Akiyama? What are you doing here instead of staying on the Kengan? I'm delivering something to Takita. Akiyama shook a bottle of canned tea in front of him. I see. I'll deliver it for you. I'm heading there anyway. Much appreciated. Taking the drink from her, Renji jogged up onto the Annihilation. Inside the cabin was a vast open space, already packed with fighters. Monitors were mounted up above. The matches that happened here would likely be streamed live to the spectators on the Kengan. Yo, didn't expect to see you here. From the crowd, Takeda Oma walked over to him. Several other fighters looked over as well, puzzled by the presence of someone who looked so thin and out of place. Brought you a drink. Renji tossed the canned tea to Takeda Oma. Thanks. Oma said, cracking it open and taking a swig. After wiping his mouth, he said, too bad. I was hoping you'd be joining the tournament. If you want to fight me, now's your chance. Bang. Chapter 146, Free for All. The moment the door closed, nearly all the fighters jumped in surprise. At the same time, a voice rang out from the ceiling speaker. To all participants and sponsors, thank you for waiting. This ship has successfully set sail. We now announce the start of the Kengan Deathmatch Elimination Preliminaries. The combatants were dumbfounded. No one had mentioned a preliminary round. This was by design. Only insiders and the 28 companies already guaranteed main event spots knew of it. The rest thought this was already the main competition. The speaker continued, this preliminary round lasts until sunrise tomorrow. If more than 5 people are still standing at that time, all participants will be disqualified. From this moment on, a battle royale begins. Only the final 5 left standing will qualify. What? 151 participants, and only 5 can remain? The fighters muttered to themselves in shock, while Renji simply furrowed his brow. Katahira had told him there would only be 4 survivors. Adding to the 28 main qualifiers, that would make 32 companies total. Assuming a traditional tournament structure, 32 participants worked perfectly. While Renji considered this, the rest of the fighters grew increasingly tense. With 151 people and only 5 spots, everyone else was the enemy. Now then, I hereby declare the Kengan Deathmatch Elimination Preliminaries officially begun. As the announcement ended, chaos erupted. Fighters began throwing punches at the nearest targets or charging toward chosen opponents. The cabin was quickly filled with the roars of battle and screams. A massive brawl broke out almost instantly. Watching everyone around him dive into combat, Takeda Oma grinned and said, looks like you got roped into this too. That means you're a target now. Doesn't matter. This is what I came for anyway. Renji smiled. Just then, a burly man with several facial scars rushed toward him, launching a kick aimed at Renji's face. First, take out the weakest. Before the man could land his kick, Renji shifted sideways, dodging the attack. He rotated with the motion and slammed his palm into the man's chest. Thud. The man was knocked backward and crashed onto the floor. The sudden impact caused his heart to briefly stop. He collapsed, unconscious. You're joining the tournament? Oma asked. More or less. Thought I'd play around in the prelims. Oh? That's exciting. Oma couldn't help but smile. He'd long been looking forward to a rematch with Renji. If that's how you're thinking, I suggest you reconsider. I've got money riding on you. If you go down, I'll lose. I don't care. If you're in the tournament, I'm going. You guys still chatting? Their relaxed conversation angered nearby fighters, who all rushed them, fists flying. Che. Oma punched one of them square inches the eye, knocking him out cold. Renji grabbed another by the hair and smashed his knee into the man's face, caving it in. In just a few minutes, 3 fighters were already out cold. The battles aboard the Annihilation were being streamed live to the Kengan ship. But it wasn't just for viewing. This was also a major gambling event, with companies betting on who the final 5 survivors would be. Who is that kid? He looks so scrawny. Yet he just took down 2 fighters in no time. I know both of them. They had solid records. One was 3-0. The other 5-0. And this unknown kid took them both down. On the Kengan. Not only the 28 participating companies were present. Hundreds more were there just to spectate and bet. Renji's performance had completely caught them off guard. Who was he? Anyone know his name? Tell me if you know. I want to bet everything on him. Doesn't even look like he's a registered combatant. When did he sneak in? On the large screen, Renji leisurely dispatched 2 more fighters, then charged toward the rest. Like a storm, he tore through the combatants, dropping anyone fighting or waiting for an opening. All were left unconscious, without exception. So strong. Akiyama stared at the screen, momentarily speechless. She had only heard that Takuman Renji was powerful. But they never imagined he was this strong. Mr. Takuman really is amazing. I hope Mr. Oma doesn't lose his cool and challenge him. Yamashita Kazuo spoke with concern. The middle-aged man had been watching the screen from the start, and something about Renji felt off. Is it just me? He doesn't seem to be using full strength. He's definitely holding back. Nogi Hideki puffed on a cigar, eyes fixed on Renji. Renji participating was a complete surprise. Normally, he had no interest in fighting himself. What's with that nervous face? Hajime? Nogi glanced at the long-haired man standing beside him. Senhatsumi, an Aikido master, and Nogi Group's newly hired fighter. What do you think of that guy? The blonde kid? Hatsumi smiled at the screen. Hard to say. His style looks mixed. Some Shingyuan, some Muay Thai, even some Krav Maga. I think I could handle him. Oh? But only under one condition. Hatsumi's smile vanished, his tone turning serious. If what he's showing right now is his full strength, then sure. But if he's hiding even a bit of his real power, then I'm in trouble. Chapter 147, Mysterious Girl. Damn it, that guy is way too strong. Who the hell is he? Why have I never heard of him? In the blink of an eye, after taking out 50 people, Takuman Renji had become the most conspicuous figure in the entire room. He looked slim, even somewhat delicate, but when he struck, there was no hesitation or mercy. The participants in this preliminary round may not have been the top-tier fighters, but each one of them was at least at the level of a superhuman compared to ordinary people. All had combat records they were proud of. And yet, 50 of these strong fighters were easily beaten down by a single boy. Take him out first. If we don't, we're all done for. A fat man and a thin man charged at Takuman Renji from opposite directions. One from the front and the other from behind. It was obvious they intended a feint and ambush combo. One would distract, the other would strike the fatal blow. As long as this most dangerous person went down, the rest would be easy. Despite their comedic duo appearance, these two weren't nobodies. The skinny one was named Aki Saito, a fighter representing Koin Construction, with a Kengan record of 6 wins and 0 losses, having earned over 3.22 billion yen in assets for his company. The fat one was Ashiroda Takero, from Izumi Foodstuff, with a record of 7 wins and 0 losses, bringing in 11.05 billion yen. Both were well known in the Kengan matches. Even in the preliminaries, they were considered strong. Aki Saito rushed at Takuman directly, while Ashiroda looped around to attack from behind. Facing Aki, Takuman stepped forward as if to meet him. But just as Aki swung a wide hook punch, Takuman suddenly shifted his leading foot backward, abruptly halting all momentum. What? Aki's punch swung into empty air. A hook punch relies heavily on precise timing and positioning. One must calculate both their own and the opponent's movement to land the hit. Aki had calculated just right. Until Takuman threw him off by suddenly stopping. In that moment of hesitation, Takuman's fist slammed into Aki's chest. He had used a twisted step to throw his opponent off guard, then delivered a powerful crushing punch with pinpoint accuracy. Boom. Splurt. The punch smashed into Aki's chest, causing his eyes to bulge and a mouthful of blood to spurt out. As blood sprayed from Aki's mouth, Takuman casually tilted his head. And the blood splashed right into Ashiroda's eyes just as he tried to attack from behind. Arg. My eyes. Crack. In less than a second, while Shirota froze from the stinging blood, Takuman's fingers had already turned into a blade and jabbed him in the throat. The man dropped unconscious instantly. 2 hot contenders for the prelims. Knocked out and eliminated. With those 2 down, most of the remaining fighters didn't even dare approach Takuman. Takata Oma, having knocked out a few who tried him, glanced over with a slight frown. The Takuman today felt like a different person from when they had first met. Now, he seemed to be playing. Still strong, but not overwhelmingly so. It even gave Oma the illusion that he might be able to beat him. But back in that alley at night, when Takuman had stared at him with glowing red eyes, it was an entirely different story. It felt like facing a prehistoric monster as a helpless infant. Now though, his eyes weren't red. He's deliberately holding back. To give people the illusion that he can be beaten. Takuman exhaled lightly after taking out the 2 and began walking toward the crowd. All those still fighting instantly stopped and took a step back. They had seen his power and knew they likely weren't a match. Even with Takuman suppressing his strength, the pressure was enough to make weaker fighters tremble. Suddenly, a fierce gust of wind kicked up around him. Countless fists came flying toward him from every direction. Dozens of punches rushed toward his face. Takuman simply raised a finger and nudged each strike off course one by one. "You're strong," came a voice. "I misjudged you earlier." In front of him stood a man wrapped in white cloth, like he had just returned from the desert. His face was mostly covered, revealing only determined eyes. "You're different from the others. You're a real fighter. I thought you were just a kid who slipped into the arena by accident. But now I'll fight you seriously." "Ah!" Before the man could finish, Takuman punched him in the nose, knocking him out cold. "God, you talk way too much." Meanwhile, on the Kengan ship, businessmen were glued to the screen. "Hust from Persia Petroleum lost too? What a monster." Birdman Tatsuka and Beasto Gabe were taken out too. Those guys were elite. Which company is he from? Why can't we place bets on him? Not just the executives. Even their accompanying fighters furrowed their brows as they imagined what they'd do if they faced Takuman in the main tournament. My. Little Rinji is quite impressive. Koroshi Rhino smiled gracefully at the screen. "Yeah, I knew he was strong from the start," replied Sori Uenshin, puffing on a cigarette as she stared intently at the footage. She vividly remembered their first encounter. How he blocked attacks from both Ozutashio and Kurosetsuna without a scratch. Speaking of Kurosetsuna, her current fighter, he had mysteriously disappeared somewhere. That damn Kuro. Tap. Suddenly, a hand rested on her shoulder. Startled, she turned around to see a girl in a hooded coat hiding her face. "Who are you?" "The blonde one." "What's his name?" "The blonde? You mean Takuman Rinji?" "I see. So his name is Takuman Rinji?" The girl gave a twisted, excited grin. Beneath the hood, her sclera was entirely black. Not human. Chapter 148, Undercurrents. The organizers had originally expected the preliminary fights to last until sunrise the next day. But in reality, everything was over within half an hour. The entire arena was littered with bloodied and unconscious fighters. Only 5 people remained standing, including Takuman Rinji. Along with him were Takata Oma, a massive fat man, a flamboyantly made-up man, and a muscular blonde guy. Exactly 5 left. "Looks like the match is over." Takuman pulled a napkin from his pocket and calmly wiped the blood off his face. At that moment, the tightly sealed doors began to slowly open. "Takata Oma. I'm coming for you in the main event." The blonde guy widened his eyes and approached Oma with a grin. "Humphrey. I'll be waiting." Takuman looked at the blonde and recalled something. He seemed familiar. If memory served, he was Oma's first opponent in the Kengan matches. Ichiro Nakata from SF Cold Storage? "Don't call me by my real name. It's Lihido. Just Lihido." Once known as Ichiro Nakata, now self-styled as Lihido. Because the power in his 10 fingers was so strong that he could shred coins and flay flesh, he was called the Superman Lihido. Lihido turned around and locked eyes with Takuman for a moment, completely stunned. Takuman didn't bother acknowledging him. He simply walked up to Takata Oma and said, "The prelims are over. Time to get back to the Kengan ship. Let's go." "Hold on." Lihido suddenly called out to them. He pointed at Takuman, then looked to Oma and asked, "Is he your friend?" "Sort of." Without hesitation, Lihido turned to Takuman with a dead serious face. "Do you have a boyfriend? Do you believe I won't kill you right now?" It was clear Lihido had entirely misunderstood Takuman's gender. "What nonsense are you spouting? I can't stand this anymore, Lihido." The overly made-up man, who wore a mushroom-shaped hairstyle that looked like a traditional straw hat, scoffed and gave Lihido a look of disgust. "That's obviously a handsome guy. Hey, handsome. Want to have a meal together later?" "Takuman." Why were so many freaks among the survivors of this preliminary? While Takuman and the others made their way toward the Kengan ship's deck, Kengan Association Chairman Katahiro Matsudo watched the live feed with a hand stroking his beard, chuckling to himself. Young Renji really is something. To be able to suppress his power to this extent. It's truly eye-opening. Indeed, that kid named Takuman Renji is quite the anomaly. Next to Katahira stood not just his usual black-suited bodyguards, but also an elderly man whose sclera were pitch black and whose wrinkled skin looked over 90 years old. Oh? You know him? 4 years ago, the Shinomiya family hired us to assassinate a 12-year-old boy. We didn't want to take the job at first, but the money was too tempting. That is. Until you ordered us to stop. Said the old man. Ho-oh. Trying to assassinate that man's child. You people are bold. We didn't know the truth at the time. The Shinomiya family never told us he was affiliated with you, and they never mentioned that man at all. The old man's face twisted into a grim smile. If we had known, the amount they paid wouldn't have been enough. Not unless they bought all of Japan. And what happened in the end? We failed. Fortunately, none of my clansmen died, or else the Shigo family would have been my next target. This elderly man was Kyoryo, head of the Kyor clan. An infamous assassination clan in the underworld. Many edgy wannabes believe the most famous assassin is the worst one. But in truth, fame drives brand builds reputation, and reputation determines how much business you get. Assassins fall under the service industry. A famous assassin might not be the best. But one who starves from lack of clients definitely isn't. Even if their real names aren't known, they have to be at least respected in the field. Kyoryo stared at the screen, watching Renji walking alongside the other 4 survivors. He frowned slightly. Realistically, a guy of his level should have wrapped up this 100-man slaughter in 5 minutes. Same as 4 years ago. Yet this time it took 30 minutes. He is clearly holding back. Because he still has his performance to come. It wasn't just Katahiro Matsudo and Kyoryo. Other corporate leaders and fighters were also discussing Takuman. Hey, am I? That guy looks about your age, doesn't he? Yeah, finally found a fighter around my age. A cute-looking boy with well-defined muscles said this while watching the big screen. So strong. I really want to fight him. His name was Imai Cosmo, a jiu-jitsu specialist fighter. With a record of 21 wins and 0 losses, he started fighting in underground matches at the age of 14 and was nicknamed the King of Strangles. I actually know this guy. Huh? The person beside Imai was the pro wrestler Sekibayashi Jun, known as the Hell's Angel. When Takata Omo broke a few of my fingers, he was the one who treated me. He's a doctor too? Boom. In a dimly lit room, a strong man with spiked hair glared at the small screen. The sight of Takuman Renji's face caused veins to bulge on his forehead. He threw a punch at the wall. A hole exploded in the wall from his strike. What's wrong? A short-haired woman lying on the bed looked at him worriedly. So he's here. What? That man. The one who killed 75 people 4 years ago and escaped judgment. He is here. His eyes were bloodshot as he stared at the smiling Takuman on screen, his patience stretched to the limit. That evil man dares show his face again. It's time to bring him to justice. Hey, Kazanga. A woman with jagged teeth shouted toward a tattooed, muscular black man lying in bed surrounded by half-naked women. A monster showed up in the prelims. Took down over 100 people solo. Oh? What does he look like? The man's tattooed face broke into a terrifying grin. A boy. Pretty cute. Blonde, maybe 16 or 17 years old. Really young. Blonde, around 16 or 17, huh? The man chuckled, his expression slightly wistful. If it's Lieutenant Takuman, he'd be that age by now too. Chapter 149, Still Prefer Student Council Life. What the hell, you're a guy? Lihido looked utterly disappointed. What a waste of a face. If I didn't need to leave 4 survivors, you'd be dead already. Lihido looked regretful as he walked beside Renji after leaving Annihilation Ship. Renji's brow twitched at his comment. He was seriously considering teaching this guy a lesson. Honestly, Lihido, you're just a big dumb gorilla. With just a little grooming, he'd be a top-class pretty boy. The overly made-up mushroom-headed man suddenly leaned close to Takuman, smiling. Hey handsome, want to have dinner together later? Renji. Goddamn it. I'm exhausted. From earlier conversations, Renji had gathered that Trihito lost his job after being defeated by Takata Oma, was later recruited by the Nogi group, and after being conned by Nogi Hidegi, became president and fighter of the newly formed Super Frozen Cold Storage Company. What Renji didn't know was that the entry fee for the preliminaries was 5 billion yen, and qualifying alone cost 100 million yen. Which meant the smiling Lihido was currently 5.1 billion yen in debt. But he didn't realize that. He probably thought Nogi just kindly helped him out a little. As for the feminine guy constantly hitting on Rinji, he was another fighter. Sawadik Zaburo, a representative of murder music. Famous for his unbelievable kicking techniques, he was known as the Bird of Darkness. After disembarking from the Annihilation, the group made their way to the Kengan ship, where Katahiro met Sudo and some executives were already waiting. Chairman Katahira's actually here. Wait, hey. Sawadik Zaburo suddenly shouted as he saw Renji walking toward the front. He wanted to stop him. Getting too close to Katahiro Metsudo without permission would definitely get you killed by his guards. Katahiro's bodyguards, known as the Fangs, were stronger than most fighters. Anyone posing a threat to him would be instantly executed. But to everyone's surprise, as Renji walked up to Katahira, not a single guard moved. They let him approach and stand at Katahiro's side. He. Who is he? Is he one of Chairman Katahira's people? Amid the stunned expressions around him, Katahira chuckled, patted Renji on the shoulder, and said loudly. So everyone on the deck could hear, this is Takemin Renji of Amano Pharmaceuticals, my. You call me your subordinate and I'll crush your skull. Renji said quietly. Come on now, I need to show off a little. Then find your own way. Don't use me for clout. Fine, fine. Unbothered, Katahira continued, this young friend Renji is my collaborator. He'll be a major force in the main tournament. Then he turned to the other 4 survivors, including Takata Ouma. You survived a match against Takemin Renji. That alone proves you're qualified for the main event. The moment Katahira said this, murmurs erupted among the crowd. He's with Chairman Katahira? Was he sent to evaluate the prelim fighters? My 5 billion yen. It's gone. Katahira showed no reaction to the uproar. He calmly said, aside from young Renji, the other 4 completed the elimination match. This means the number of companies in the tournament has increased from 28 to 32. Gentlemen, look forward to the bloodbath ahead. With about 27 hours until the ship reached the tournament site, and the sun having already set, a banquet was now underway. Just like those high-class cruise scenes in movies, wealthy businessmen and executives mingled with wine in hand, discussing the world economy's effects on their businesses, or negotiating future collaborations. It was peak capitalist decadence. Mr. Yama. I haven't seen Mr. Takemin for a while now. Yamashita Kazuo looked around, drink in hand. The huge hall on the ship had no sign of Renji. It seemed he'd gone elsewhere. President Yamashita, Mr. Takemin went to the casino with Mr. Takata Ouma. Huh? Kazuo turned around and saw a pretty, shoulder-length haired young woman. Her name was Kushida Rin, Yamashita's secretary. It was suspicious that Yamashita, who had just been loaned money by President Nogi to become a company president, would suddenly get a beautiful secretary. But he didn't question it. So he went to the casino. Yes. Meanwhile, in the casino. 3 of a kind. Sorry, straight. Damn it. At the poker table, Renji revealed his cards. A company president on the opposite side clutched his head and collapsed over the table. Renji. Sir, how about I waive this round's winnings? You take that money. You think I care about tens of billions? One more round. Seeing the man with bloodshot eyes, Renji felt a little helpless. He had hoped that making him lose money would force him to quit gambling. Instead, it made things worse. Surrounding Renji were a group of gorgeous bunny girls. They leaned in close, using their bodies to press up against him. Mr. Takemin, you're amazing. Strong and lucky. You've got me blushing. Renji didn't bother brushing them off. After all, women never really paid attention to him. This was fine for now. Though he truly didn't like gambling. I'm stepping out for some air. You can have the chips. Ah. Mr. Takemin is so generous. I'll leave my door open for you tonight. You can do whatever you want. As Renji handed over his chips, the bunny girls all fawned over him. He didn't respond, just walked straight out of the casino. He stepped onto the deck and lit a cigarette. Compared to this life of lust and money, he preferred arguing with people in Shuchin Student Council. Only there did he feel at ease. What he didn't notice was that while he smoked on deck, a hooded girl was slowly approaching him from behind. Chapter 150, Do you want to get married, girl? Standing on the deck, gazing out at the sea under the night sky, Takemin Renji lit a cigarette, his craving kicking in. Blowing out a puff of smoke, he couldn't help but reminisce about his days in the student council. Although Fujiwara always liked to hit him with sneak attacks, and he and Shinomiya were constantly at odds, he could still enjoy a brief sense of peace there. Having once lingered between life and death, Renji wasn't used to the tranquil life at school, but that sense of calm was something he had never experienced before. And had come to enjoy. Ah, there you are, Mr. Takemin. Mr. Yamashita. Seeing Yamashita Kazuo walk over, Renji simply smiled and took out a pack of cigarettes, holding one out to him. Want one? I'll pass. Yamashita politely waved it off. I don't smoke much, really. Just the occasional drink at an izakaya back home. You're such a boring office worker. A lot of people say that about me. There was a trace of bitterness in Yamashita's smile. My wife left me years ago. Probably because I was just another run-of-the-mill office worker. I've got 2 sons at home. The older one turned into a NEET, and the younger one hangs out with thugs and even steals money from the house. Sounds like you've hit every midlife crisis all at once. Yeah. Yamashita lowered his head after Renji pointed that out. By the way, I've always been curious. Why would someone like you, who was content being a salaryman, go and start your own company to enter Omatakata into the Kengan Annihilation Tournament? I was forced to. Yamashita clutched his head and cried out. President Nogi insisted I join this Kengan Annihilation Tournament. I tried to refuse, but he's my boss. Yamashita's expression was falling apart. The entry challenge fee is 100 million, and participation costs 5 billion. I'm currently 5.1 billion yen in debt. Well, that's just. At this point, Renji had to admit he was impressed by Nogi Hideki's scheming. After forcing Yamashita to go independent and start his own company, signing Omatakata effectively gave him another piece on the board. Add to that Lihido, and now 3 out of the 32 companies in the tournament were on Nogi's side. Incidentally, the reason Lihido borrowed 5.1 billion yen again to enter the tournament was simply because Nogi tricked him into it. So he's been planning all this out for a while. I really did underestimate him. What's that, Mr. Takuman? Just complimenting your boss's strategic mind. Renji said with a laugh. So Yamashita, with all that debt, you must be under a lot of pressure, right? It's impossible to say I'm not stressed. There's no way I could pay off a 5.1 billion yen debt with just my regular salary. He then glanced over toward the event hall on the other side of the deck. Through the window, they could see Omatakata wolfing down the free buffet like a starving man. But I believe I can entrust my fate to that man. That's good to hear. Renji smiled. Mutual trust between an employer and a gladiator. This was the best kind of partnership. As Renji leaned back on the ship's railing and stared out at the sea, a gust of wind suddenly whipped by, twisting the cigarette smoke rising from his mouth. He immediately sensed danger. A sneak attack. He turned his head and countered with a punch. Thud. His punch collided perfectly with a kick from a girl in a hoodie. She quickly backed off, bringing both fists to her chest and launching a flurry of jabs at him. Mr. Takuman? I'm fine. While calmly replying, Renji used just one hand to deflect her continuous strikes. Each punch aimed at his chest, but he subtly redirected their force with ease. TCH, why the hell did that old man Katahara allow all these shady people on board? Not only had the 32 official companies and their fighters boarded, but also hundreds more businesses who were only here to spectate or place bets. Naturally, a few infiltrators had slipped in with them. These hidden actors could potentially disrupt the entire tournament. Yet Katahara Matsudo had let it slide, and Renji had reason to suspect that it wasn't just for fun. There were ulterior motives at play. Still deep in thought, he noticed the hoodie girl hadn't paused at all. After her string of jabs failed, she shifted her stance and swung a sweeping leg toward his calf. Smack. She thought she had the perfect strike, but just as she raised her leg, Renji stepped on her knee and pinned her in place. Enough already. Do you really want me to kill someone on the Kengan ship? He said flatly. You may be confident in your skills, but from my perspective, you're just a joke. Like a child. Perhaps provoked by this, the girl leapt up and launched a powerful kick at his face. It came fast, but Takuman simply tilted his head aside, letting it brush past his cheek before grabbing her collar and knee midair and slamming her hard onto the deck. Thud. As she hit the ground, her hood came off. Her long, inky black hair cascaded down. Her cool, detached aura resembled a lotus blooming in the cold. The jet black sclera of her eyes gave her a strange, captivating charm. One of the Cure clan? Seeing those abnormal eyes, Takuman immediately recognized her. She was from the Cure clan. An ancient family of assassins. A scornful smile flickered across his face. Still haven't learned your lesson from 4 years ago? If you want to kill me, maybe bring the whole damn clan next time. Before he could finish, the girl suddenly grabbed his collar. Pulling herself up close, she stared him in the eyes. You're Takuman Renji, right? A blush appeared on her cold, expressionless face. I want to have your child. Takuman froze. What? Did you say? I want to have your child. Be my husband. She said with a smile. There was no doubt. She was serious. Such shocking words rendered Takuman's mind completely blank. After about 30 seconds of rebooting, he looked her in the eye and asked sincerely, shall we register our marriage? Chapter 151, This is not a problem when Renji asked, "Wanna register our marriage?" There was roughly 10 seconds between his mental shutdown and his full reboot. During those 10 seconds, his thought process went as follows: this was the first girl to ever confess to him. Sure, she didn't use lines like "I like you" or "please go out with me." Those sweet, youthful phrases. But she did say she wanted to have his child. But that wasn't a problem. In fact, if she was already thinking about children, that meant she was seriously considering marriage. Next, her appearance. She was definitely a rare beauty, the kind you'd only see once in a while. Renji himself had never had any strict preferences about how his girlfriend should look, so having a beautiful girl throwing herself at him, why would he say no? Sure, the black sclera of her eyes might be a bit off-putting to most. But that wasn't a problem either, since Takuman didn't care in the slightest. Lastly, there was the matter of her being from the Cure clan, which had some history with him. Still not a problem. It wasn't like there was some deep blood feud. So in summary, given that she confessed first, none of these so-called problems were really problems. Having thought it all through in 10 seconds, Renji looked her in the eye and asked, "Wanna register our marriage?" "Of course," she replied. "All right." Renji immediately nodded and gently helped her up from the deck. "There's no time to waste. Let's go get our marriage license right now. I'll go talk to that old man Katahara. I'm dropping out of the Kengan Annihilation tournament. After all, the tournament would only net him a few 100 billion yen at best. He could make that kind of money again in the future. But this was about his personal happiness. It had to take priority. "By the way, I don't even know your name yet," Renji said, looking at the girl. "My name is Cure Karara," she said with a smile. "My grandfather always said, producing powerful offspring is the mission of the main family." "Oh. I could tell at a glance. You're strong. Stronger than anyone else in the world. So please, have children with me." Renji started to feel like something about Karara wasn't quite right. But even that wasn't a problem. Having kids comes after marriage. We need to get married first. You understand what I mean, right? "Of course I do." She nodded. "So let's get married quickly." "Exactly." A smile crept onto Renji's face as he looked up at the night sky. After all these years, a girl had finally confessed to him. He had always thought he'd die alone, but now, finally, he had a girlfriend. "Dad, your son's finally doing something right. I found you, Karara." At that moment, two men appeared on the deck. They had the same black sclera as Kurara. Clearly members of the Cure clan. Kurara turned to look at them. "Henzo. Reiichi?" "Cure Henzo and Cure Reiichi. Also members of the Cure clan and relatives of Karara." "Really now, Karara, sneaking off like this isn't okay," Reiichi said. "Come on. Grandpa's worried about you." "Huh?" Just then, Henzo turned to Renji, stepped forward, and gave a small bow. "Sorry. Karara caused you trouble." "Not at all. It wasn't trouble in the slightest," Renji said, his mood clearly excellent. "In fact, Karara is now basically my girlfriend." "Huh? What?" Henzo and Reiichi both froze in place. "Girlfriend as in?" "Oh, let me explain," said Karara, raising her hand. "I want to become husband and wife with Takuman Renji and have children." She really couldn't stop talking about having children. The two men from the Cure clan exchanged glances and looked at Renji. "If you want to be Karara's boyfriend, that might be a bit." Renji's gaze suddenly sharpened. What's this now? A girl finally confesses to him, he agrees to get married, and then these two men show up acting all hesitant? Like hell he was letting this cooked duck fly away. He stepped forward, placing his hands on their shoulders. In an instant, his pupils turned red, emitting a terrifying glow under the night sky. "Are you two planning to stand in the way of my happiness?" A horrifying aura erupted from Renji, enveloping the entire ship. Back in the main cabin, people were drinking and chatting when suddenly an overwhelming pressure fell over them. It felt as if some monstrous predator had locked onto them, instantly silencing the once lively hall. What was that just now? Suddenly it felt terrifying. Was that just my imagination? Everyone whispered in unease. Even Oma, who had been gorging on food, paused mid-bite. That feeling. There's no mistake. It's Takuman Renji. Meanwhile, Katahara Matsudo was sitting and sipping sake in his room. When the ripples in his cup trembled, he looked toward the deck. "Oh ho, looks like little Renji's finally snapped. How terrifying." "It's definitely Takuman Renji," said Cure Irio. "That inhuman presence. I sensed it once before, 4 years ago. By the way, where's my great-granddaughter, Karura?" "She's young. Let her roam around a bit," someone replied. "I'm just worried she'll run into something dangerous," said Irio, clearly uneasy. especially with that monster Takuman Renji aboard. Henzo and Reichi were frozen stiff by Renji's presence. Their survival instincts screamed at them to get away, or they would die. But Renji's grip on their shoulders was unyielding, his tightening fingers making their bones creak audibly. No, our clan doesn't have that many rules. We usually allow our members to fall in love freely. You should have said so earlier. I knew you two were decent guys. Renji's pupils instantly turned back to black. Smiling, he released them and patted their shoulders. The two looked at each other, then hurriedly left. Renji was far too dangerous. They needed to inform clan leader immediately. Well, now that they're gone, Karura, you. Just as Takuman turned to her, he found Karura's face flushed red, eyes brimming with a touch of mania. Takuman Renji, you really are the strongest. Yeah. Let's have children. Now. Immediately. Whoa. Let's not do that now. Don't start undressing. It was becoming clear. First love probably wouldn't be this simple. Chapter 152, I want everyone to know I have a girlfriend. All in all, a girl confessing to him was something worth celebrating. After 4 years of rejection, Renji finally had a girlfriend. Though she lacked common sense. That wasn't a problem. Renji lacked it too. Even if all she wanted was to have children. Still not a problem. If she was thinking that far ahead, then emotional issues were unlikely. In any case, it was all good news. Renji couldn't wait to pull out his phone and open line. I want everyone to know I have a girlfriend. Yamashita Kazuo. He had been silently watching everything unfold this whole time. What the hell just happened? The two went from strangers to fighting to becoming a couple. All in under 5 minutes. As a middle-aged man over 50, he realized he might no longer understand how young people think. If I just say I have a girlfriend, probably no one will believe it. Better take a photo together and post it. Thinking that, Renji turned to Karura. Karura, mind taking a selfie together? Of course not. The two stood at the railing of the deck, the sea behind them. Takuman held up the camera and aimed it at them. Karura wrapped one arm around his and made a peace sign with the other near her eye. Click. Not bad. Perfect? Looking at the photo, the two looked exactly like a couple should. By the way, Renji. Since they were now officially dating, Karura decided to address him however she pleased. I've been gone a while. Grandpa's probably worried. I should go see him. Yeah, makes sense. Come with me. I want to introduce you to him. Sure. So that's what happened. Cure Reichi stood before Cure Irio, recounting everything that happened between Takuman Renji and Cure Karura. You're saying Karura chose someone to be her husband? Yes, and he's outrageous. Before Reichi could even say the name, Irio erupted in rage. With his roar, the sake cup in his hand shattered, and the floor beneath his feet cracked. Which damn brat dared to seduce my adorable great-granddaughter? I'll tear him limb from limb. Reichi and Henzo looked at the furious old man with a touch of helplessness. Sure, the Cure clan allowed free love. But their clan head, Cure Irio, was a doting idiot who spoiled his great-granddaughter to no end. Even though Karura called him grandpa, he was actually her great-grandfather. What's that brat's name? His surname is Takuman. Takuman Renji. The furious Irio suddenly fell silent. I see. So it's that guy. Then should we kill him? Reichi and Henzo watched the raging old man with resigned expressions. There goes Grandpa's great-granddaughter's syndrome again. Not everyone was upset, though. Ha 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 ha. Watching his old friend tremble with rage, veins bulging, skin turning purple, a muscular blonde man from the Cure clan burst out laughing. He genuinely found this clan head amusing. Stop laughing, Rei-Ian. A middle-aged member beside him scolded. Ha 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 ha, this Takuman Renji guy sounds strong. Sounds like fun to kill. Want me to do it? Just as he said that, Cure Irio calmed down again. Rei-Ian, you should know that name. Not many clan members do, but you should. Of course I know. Cure Rei-Ian replied. My sister Cure Fujui once had a sniper duel with him. And she won. That was just a skirmish. We sent our strongest warriors back then to kill him. They all lost. Huh? That guy isn't human. Even you wouldn't stand a chance. Huh? Cure Rei-Ian's expression twisted in disbelief. He never believed he could lose to anyone. Well then. But I still really want to kill that damn brat. Reichi and Henzo, so what exactly are we doing, then? Grandpa. Just then, Karura came skipping happily toward Irio, waving her hand. Oh, Karura, you're back. The man who'd been trembling with rage just moments ago instantly switched to a kind, smiling grandfather. How was the ship? Fun? Super fun. Karura giggled, her face blooming with the sweetness of first love. Met someone I like. He'd already been told, but hearing her say it in person nearly stopped Kurio's heart. Forcing a smile, he said, "That's great, really. When will you bring him over to meet me?" "Oh, he's already here." Right as she spoke, Rinji appeared by her side. "Yo." The rest of the Cure clan stared speechlessly at Takam and Rinji. As for Irio, though he still wore a smiling face, in his heart, he had already stabbed Renji hundreds of times. "Very well. Little Karura is right here, I can't make a move. Little Karura is right here, I can't make a move. Little Karura is right here, I can't make a move. So you're Karura's grandfather? Come to think of it, we actually met 4 years ago," said Renji with a smile, extending his hand. "Let me reintroduce myself. I'm Takemin Rinji, Karura's boyfriend." Crack. Irio felt something inside him shatter. Looking at Rinji's outstretched hand, he reached out and shook it tightly. "Ah, hello." But the moment their hands clasped, Irio suddenly clenched down hard. Don't be fooled by his age. He was still strong enough to crush steel with his grip. Yet the young man in front of him kept smiling. That smile could only be described as benevolent. Chapter 153, Peasant Snipers of 4 years ago. Cure Irio. He really wanted to crush this brat's hand and make him lose face in front of Karura. But no matter how much strength he used, Takemin Renji kept staring back with that expression. Is he mocking me? This brat's really getting on my nerves. If it had been in the past, anyone who dared grip Renji like this, he'd have ripped their arm off even if he didn't feel pain. But today, just after being confessed to by Karura, he was in an excellent mood. No matter how others acted, he wouldn't get angry. He was full of benevolence. "Nice to meet you." Renji smiled. "Please rest assured and leave your great-granddaughter in my care." Veins popped on Cure Irio's forehead. "Ahem. Takemin Rinji, don't you think it's a bit early to be dating at your age?" Irio tried to keep calm, even though his expression betrayed him. "Karura is still in high school." "That's perfect. I'm also a high schooler. You two just met. There's no foundation for a relationship. Feelings can be cultivated over time. You little brat, can't you tell I don't want you anywhere near my precious great-granddaughter?" Staring at Cure Irio turning purple with anger, Rinji suddenly had a thought. "Oh? You don't want me and Karura to be together, is that it?" Finally, the brat gets it. "Yes, Karura's expression suddenly changed, as if she couldn't accept what she heard. "Grandpa, do you want to break me and Rinji up?" Cure Irio. Looking at Karura's tearful face, Irio's expression contorted before he finally forced a warm smile. "Of course not. Grandpa wishes you both happiness." "Really? Thank you, Grandpa. I knew you were the best." Karura cheered. Yes. My heart is bleeding. My precious great-granddaughter." "Hey!" A deafening roar came from behind Cure Irio. Cure Ryan had spoken up. He stepped past the others and stood in front of Rinji, towering over him. "So you're Takemin Rinji. Seems like the old man has a high opinion of you. You flatter me." Rinji scratched the back of his head with a grin. "Since I'm already with Karura, I guess the old man has accepted me." "Accepted? Not even close, you damn brat. I hear you're pretty strong. Fight me right now," Ryan said with a grin. Hey." Karura suddenly stepped in front of Takemin, glaring at Ryan. "What do you want with Rinji?" "Nothing, just want to see if he's worthy of the Cure clan's strength." Ryan sneered. "He did lose to my sister, after all." "Huh?" Rinji blinked. "Your sister is Cure Fujui. You should have met her before." "Oh, her." Rinji clapped his hands, as if remembering something from 4 years ago. 4 years ago, after Rinji blew up a branch of the Shinomiya family business, the family hired the Cure clan to eliminate him. But even back then, he was strong enough to beat everyone sent to face him. Later, a bullet grazed his cheek. Tracking the sniper, he found a short-haired girl retreating from a rooftop. Like the rest of the Cure clan, her eyes were all black with white sclera. She was known as the Wicked Shooter. Cure Fujui. Finding it amusing, Rinji challenged her to a sniper duel. Rules were simple: mark a hunting zone, and whoever killed the other first would win. The duel began. Both picked concealed high-rises and began scanning for their target. They were both excellent snipers and had endless patience. First hour, both were motionless, scanning through scopes. Third hour, still unmoving. Fifth hour, Fujui got hungry and ordered takeout. Rinji also got peckish and went downstairs for a red bean bun. Seventh hour, Fujui drank a yogurt. Rinji lit a cigarette. The rising smoke gave away his position. Fujui spotted it, pulled the trigger. Thus ended this absurd sniper duel with a comedic conclusion. Two amateurs pecking at each other like chickens. What an epic and historic battle, totally serious. Renji said. He rubbed his forehead. Your sister's ruthless, though. She used 12.7mm incendiary rounds. My head was swollen for 3 days. But a loss is a loss. I didn't even cause your clan any more trouble after that. You've got guts. Ryan pushed Karura aside and grabbed Renji by the collar. Fight me. Right now. I don't think that's a good idea. We'll be family soon. Renji smiled. If I injure you, how will I explain it? You seem kinda fragile. Huh. Veins bulged all over Ryan's body. He was ready to teach Renji a painful lesson. Stop right there. Irio had snapped out of his heartbreak and yelled furiously at Ryan. You're a sanctioned fighter now. No private duels outside matches. Understood? TCH. Ryan let go of Renji and stared into his eyes. I'll be waiting to kill you in a real match. Oh, you'll be waiting forever. Renji was still smiling. He hadn't looked serious once since the start. I'm not joining the main tournament. Huh? I'm not here to fight you guys. I just came to make a bit of money. You. Renji. Karura ran over and naturally wrapped her arms around his. You're my future husband now. Can I stay in your room tonight? Eh? Moving in already? Of course. Let's make babies first. Before Renji could respond, Irio had already collapsed to the ground. The once mighty elder, still strong in body, finally broke mentally. Chapter 154, The Perfect Woman Wa. My great-granddaughter. Got snatched away by some brat from who knows where. Grandpa, don't sit on the floor. It's embarrassing. Grandpa, want a candy? With Karura clinging to Renji's arm and walking out of the hall, the nearly 100-year-old Irio suddenly plopped down and bawled like a child. Several members of the Cure clan nearby comforted the old man as if they were consoling a child. TCH, what an arrogant brat. Cure Ryan had been upset ever since he was stopped. He glared in the direction where Renji and Karura had disappeared, his black sclera filled with fury. I'd advise you not to mess with that kid. A middle-aged man beside Ryan gave a warning. According to our Cure clan's code, we're never supposed to fear a strong opponent. We challenge them until we defeat them. But that man named Takeman Renji isn't someone you can't treat as a proper opponent. Huh. He can't even be considered human anymore. The middle-aged man shook his head. His name was Cure Horio, one of the top powerhouses in the Wu clan, even among elites. He had also participated in the assassination against Renji years ago. Back then, in my fight against him, I learned something. What? Fear. Huh? I don't know why he's become like this now, but 4 years ago, when he was still a kid, the only thing you could feel from him was fear. Horio said to the still enraged Ryan. He had power beyond human limits, and no human emotions. If our clan kills without mercy due to our roots in assassination, then Takeman Renji completely buried any trace of humanity. TCH. Then how did you survive back then? Because your sister won. Our whole clan was spared. Just as Horio was reminiscing, Katahiro Metsudo suddenly appeared on a high platform in the hall, shouting to the fighters and entrepreneurs still enjoying the banquet, silence. At his voice, everyone quieted down. All eyes turned to where Katahiro Metsudo stood. Looking down from above, he announced in a booming voice, "Thank you for your patience. Now it's time for the official announcement." Everyone thought, is it finally starting? In about 27 hours, this ship will arrive at the final battleground. Katahira continued. Once we arrive, each Kengan Association member company must register the name of their fighter. Only then will the Kengan Death Elimination Tournament officially begin. He paused slightly, eyes narrowing. And finally, private fights between fighters are strictly prohibited. Any rule breaking will be punished by the bodyguard. These bodyguard were the suited bodyguards seen all over the ship. While they looked like clones of each other, each one had strength equal to, or far beyond, that of an average fighter. This was why Katahiro Metsudo was so confident in holding the tournament here. No private fights, huh? So that means most people took his words to heart and would follow the rules. But a few did not. They began to see the loophole hidden within Katahiro Metsudo's words. Or rather, the loophole he deliberately left open. Beneath the seemingly peaceful banquet, a dangerous undercurrent had begun to stir. Renji was grateful that he hadn't attacked the Cure clan back then. Otherwise, how could he now have such a cute girlfriend? Renji, can I sleep in your room tonight? This is moving a bit fast. Renji replied with an awkward smile. I'm happy you said that, but as your great-grandfather mentioned, we only just met today. I see. I thought once we were officially together, we could start making babies. Have you never dated anyone before? Didn't anyone ever teach you about this? Nope. You're the first. Karura tilted her head. Why? Nothing. Today's really my lucky day. Then if I don't go to your room, can you come to mine tonight? That's not what I meant. As mentioned before, Rinji usually seemed indifferent to most things, but when it came to relationships, he was quite serious. He wasn't the type to move in together just a few hours after becoming a couple. They walked out to the deck. The Kengan ship was enormous, with a swimming pool, cafe, sports field, and garden outside. But since it was already past midnight, most facilities were closed. The two could only stroll through the garden near the cafe. At that moment, Rinji's thoughts became a mess. What do people do after getting a girlfriend? Kiss? No, that's too soon. But maybe. Holding hands is okay? We are dating after all. Karura walked calmly beside him, totally unbothered. She didn't understand any of this either. Isn't his Takuman Rinji out for a nighttime stroll? Just as Rinji was about to try holding her hand, a woman's voice called out to him. Looking up, he saw someone he'd only met once before. Koroshi Rhino, and her bodyguard and fighter, Mikazuchi Rei. Koroshi Rhino wore a revealing strap dress, radiating seductive elegance. Many men would go weak in the knees from just one glance. Luckily, Rinji was not normal. Yeah, just out for a walk. And this one beside you. That's the Cure Clan's young lady, right? Koroshi Rhino smiled. Could it be that you two are a couple? Of course. Rinji proudly lifted his head. Since getting a girlfriend, his confidence had noticeably skyrocketed. She's a beautiful girl. Congratulations. Thanks, I think Karura's perfect. Before Koroshi Rhino could reply, Mikazuchi Rei frowned and stepped in front of Rinji. I think Rhino is the most perfect woman. Get lost, it's Karura. It's Rhino. It's Karura. It's... Wham! Before Mikazuchi Rei could finish, Rinji kicked him hard in the gut, sending him flying a good distance. Koroshi Rhino covered her mouth in surprise as Mikazuchi Rei lay on the ground, unable to get up. She clearly hadn't expected that to happen. Rinji pulled back his foot and calmly looked at the fallen man. Your mom's perfect? Since getting a girlfriend, Rinji might have lost a few screws. He was already abnormal, and now even more so. Chapter 155, please listen to the president's song You're Strong. Yeah, I know. Fight me again. I'll get serious this time. No. There's no point. Even after injuring Mikazuchi Rei, Rinji still helped treat his wounds. In fact, he regretted acting out the moment he did it. Karura had been right beside him. What if she saw his violent side and her opinion changed? But when he noticed her excited gaze, Rinji knew he was overthinking. She's the perfect woman. Any other girl would have been shocked or scared watching him lash out. But not Karura. She seemed to enjoy watching Rinji fight. Or maybe she liked seeing him defeat others. You're not a registered fighter, right? So there's no issue with us having a duel. Like I said, there's no point. Rinji spoke plainly. You're no match for me. I see. Seeing Akaya Sasuke's eyes burning with fighting spirit, Rinji understood, all fighters love challenging the strong. Whether or not they can win. To them, only one word matters. Victory. Just as Mikazuchi Rei got into position to launch an attack, Koroshi Rhino gently placed her hand on his head and said softly, it's not time to act yet, Rei. I understand. He lowered his fists and obediently stood by her side. Koroshi Rhino turned and smiled at Rinji and Karura. Then I won't bother you two anymore. Chairman Katahara already gave his order, so be careful. Thanks for the heads up. Rinji caught the hidden message in her words. Katahara's speech had two key points. 1. Companies had to wait until the final stage to register fighters. 2. Private fights were forbidden. Put together, this revealed a loophole. On the ship, companies could temporarily replace their fighters. But not all companies wanted to switch theirs. Some opportunists would exploit that. They'd try to eliminate certain fighters and force the companies to make replacements through intimidation. Koroshi Rhino clearly understood Katahara's implication, which was why she warned Rinji to watch out for those lurking in the shadows aboard the Kengan ship. But her warning might have come too late. While they were talking, a masked figure had already crept up behind them. A man wearing a skull mask. Rinji. You might have spoken a bit late. Koroshi Rhino, well, that's unfortunate. Despite being a delicate woman, she showed no fear. Karura frowned as she looked at the clearly hostile newcomer. Koroshi Rhino. You people really love these strong-arm tactics, huh? Hearing this, Rinji asked, do you know who's behind this? The mastermind is one of the 32 companies vying for the Kengan chairman's seat. He wants to use tactics like this to control as many companies as possible to improve his odds of winning. Oh? Do you know which one? Of the 32 companies, the one most likely to stoop this low is Toyo Electric. Them, huh? Back in the day, They'd clashed with Rinji, even kidnapping Ryuji and threatening the Ryuji clan. They were infamous for their dirty tactics. And now, it turned out they were also participating in the Kengan Death Elimination Tournament. Seeing the skull-masked man approach, Mikazuchi stepped forward and calmly said, "Give me 5 seconds." "No, that's too long." Rinji stepped up, speaking flatly. 1 second. Whoosh. The moment he finished speaking, Rinji vanished from his spot and reappeared in front of the skull-masked man, slamming a punch directly into his chest. The man wasn't sent flying, but the blood vessels in his visible eyes burst, and the mask was stained red from the blood he coughed up. "I'll spare your life for now. You might still be useful." Rinji grabbed the unconscious masked man and noticed something shiny at his collar. He took it off. It was a tiny surveillance device. "Hey!" Rinji sneered, bringing the device up to his face. "You were watching me, weren't you, Hayami Katsumasa?" Crack. With that, he crushed the device between his fingers. "Damn it!" he noticed. In a dimly lit room stood a massive, hulking figure. In the center sat an old man. He stared at the screen, and after seeing Renji's face and hearing his mocking words, he furiously knocked over the glass of red wine beside him. The spilled wine stained the floor like blood. The old man clutched the screen and roared, "Bastard! Katahara knew I'd try to interfere in the Kengan chairman election, so he brought that monster in." He remembered Renji's face. One he would never forget for the rest of his life. 4 years ago, that boy destroyed his plan. 2 years ago, they clashed again in Southeast Asia. That time, an entire power plant was obliterated by a single thermobaric bomb from who knows where. No one inside survived. He nearly died himself. Even though he had seized that land through ruthless means, he still thought he was already cruel enough. But back then, he realized something: never try to outdo Takam and Rinji in brutality. "I need to be extremely careful." Rinji was someone who completely disregarded human morality. Ugh! The masked man had regained consciousness. But when he woke up, he realized he was tied up in some unknown corner of the Kengan ship, completely unable to break the chains holding him. Rinji appeared in front of him and tore the cloth from his mouth. "Talk. What's your plan?" The man knew what would happen if he talked, so he chose to stay silent. "Nice. Tough guy." Rinji's eyes turned cold. "I didn't want to use such cruel punishment. But you're not cooperating." He then placed a pair of headphones over the man's ears, cranked up the volume on his phone, and selected an audio file. President's School Anthem. Chapter 156, Games and Acquaintances. The Skull-Masked Man was a hitman hired by Toyo Electric for a hefty price. Their mission was to take out several fighters on the Kengan ship to replace them. As everyone knew, Kengan matches were unarmed fights, so most fighters on the ship didn't carry weapons. The assassins exploited this, sneaking in with hidden weapons to gain an advantage. If lucky, they could beat weaker fighters and force companies to hire them instead. If unlucky, they'd be flattened by a stronger fighter. If truly unfortunate, like this guy, they'd run into Takam and Rinji. To be fair, the masked man had undergone professional assassin training. He could endure most forms of physical torture. Please stop singing. But mental torture? That was another matter. You giving in? And no. No? Still holding out? Then let's loop it again. No. The 3 others nearby stared in confusion as the man writhed and screamed. They were all curious about what on earth Rinji was playing on his phone. About 10 minutes later. Blue skies over Shochenheg. Not bad, not bad. You've even learned our beloved Shochen's school anthem. Rinji looked down at the now blank-eyed, foaming masked man and nodded in satisfaction. If you don't want to hear it again, spill everything. This time. Toyo Electric hired a lot of people. Many are already hidden on the ship. The man gasped. Our targets are 5 companies. By Akaya News, Furami Pharmaceuticals, Nishionji Security, Amiyachi Securities, and Gold Pleasure Group. I see. Toyo Electric also recruited a bunch of others. Planning to launch a coup at the critical moment. Koroshi Rhino covered her mouth in shock. She had already assumed Hayami Katsumasa, the head of Toyo Electric, would stop at nothing to achieve his goals. But she didn't expect he'd go this far. Interesting. A slight smile formed on Rinji's face. It looked like this Kengan Death Elimination Tournament was going to be a lot more fun than expected. If it were just a bunch of fighters brawling, Rinji wouldn't have cared. But Kengan matches weren't just about the fighters. It was also corporate warfare in disguise. Hayami Katsumasa had clearly come prepared. All of this was part of a larger plan to take the Kengan chairman's seat. I can't wait to see that old bastard's face when he loses everything. Rinji said with a twisted grin. Should we report this to Chairman Katahara? Koroshi Rhino asked. This involves a rebellion. It's important he knows. No need at all. Rinji chuckled. That old man probably already knows. Otherwise, he wouldn't have created rules that clearly favor Hayami Katsumasa. He's waiting for the show too. Good point. Koroshi Rhino smiled elegantly, accepting his reasoning. Of course. I'll make his little performance even more dramatic. Rinji added with a mischievous glint in his eye. He took off the headphones from the masked man's ears, then pulled out his phone and dialed a number. It was Katahiro Matsudo. Hello. What is it, young Rinji? Old man, about the final battleground. Do you guys deliver food there? Oh? I want to order some takeout. For an old friend. Oh. But of course. Katahiro Matsudo immediately understood Rinji's message and laughed. Go ahead and do as you please. Even if I refused, you'd find a way to send it anyway. I just wanted to show I respect your opinion. Rinji grinned. Now then, enjoy the game. After leaving the masked man behind, Koroshi Rhino departed. Only Rinji and Karura remained, strolling aimlessly through the ship. Karura didn't understand any of the corporate warfare stuff. All she knew was one thing, her future husband was strong. Stronger than every other fighter on the ship. Before they knew it, it was nearly morning. After the preliminary match celebrations, most fighters and business people had been partying all night in the hall like nocturnal animals. Only those with strict daily routines had returned to rest. That's why a few people had become isolated targets. Rinji checked the time on his phone and began to plan. Morning already. That means sunrise. Watching the sunrise with Karura would be romantic. While staring at the sun together, I could sneakily hold her hand. Perfect? Guess all that stuff Ishigami taught me wasn't useless after all. With that flirtatious thought in mind, Rinji decided to act immediately. He turned to Karura and smiled. I'm heading to the deck. Not going back to your room? Her unspoken meaning, not going to make babies. Of course, Rinji deliberately ignored that interpretation. No, from the deck we can see the rising sun. Then let's go. To Karura, the destination didn't matter. As long as she was with Rinji. Seeing her agree, Rinji turned around and started walking. But after a few steps, he suddenly stopped, sensing something. Not just Rinji. Karura felt it too. She dashed ahead, delivering a powerful kick to a nearby iron gate. Boom. The kick was so strong the center of the gate caved in, and the lock snapped instantly. As the gate burst open, a shadow darted out, and both of them saw it clearly. Garuda punched toward the figure, but her strike was caught by a massive hand. Whoa there, little lady. Don't be so aggressive. I'm not your enemy. Out from behind the gate stepped a burly, shirtless black man covered in tattoos. He lowered the hand that caught Karura's punch and walked up to Rinji. Upon seeing him, Rinji smiled. Long time no see. That's right. The black man stood before Rinji and saluted him. Second Lieutenant Dakuman Rinji, Mutaba Jizenga from the Somali War Zone reporting to you. Forget it. I left the Somali War Zone 2 years ago. Rinji said with a smile. I'm not a second lieutenant anymore. I'm just an ordinary high school student now. Chapter 157, were you just thinking something rude? 3 years ago, in the Gulf of Aden. A massive ship lay littered with bodies, their necks twisted at unnatural angles. Some even had their eyeballs gouged out. A group of pirates stood trembling on the deck, guns pointed at the soaked, muscular black man who had just swum over from the sea. 15 left? Doesn't seem that hard. The man didn't seem to be focusing on the pirates. Or rather, he couldn't see them. Don't panic. He's unarmed. We have guns. Open fire. The leader had barely shouted before the man was upon him, grabbing his throat and twisting it violently. Crack. The man's neck snapped instantly. Amid a flurry of gunfire, the black man used his body as a shield, charging into the group and unleashing a massacre. Bullets are designed with something called stopping power. Meant to lodge in the body rather than pass through, disabling the target even if not killing them. And that stopping power allowed the man to use his body as a shield. After killing all 15, the man finally exhaled. His name was Mutaba Jizenga, a well-known local mercenary who had never failed a mission. Mutaba twitched his ear. Something felt off. He looked around cautiously. Damn, looks like their backup boats are coming. They won't make it. Mutaba flinched at the voice. No one should have been able to sneak up on him. Height, 148 centimeters. A kid? Just like the rumors said. You can't see, huh? A blond boy walked up to Mutaba, smiling as he observed him. I heard there's a powerful mercenary here who once took down a local squad alone. Looks like the rumors were accurate. Who are you? Let me introduce myself. My name is Dakuman Rinji, currently with the 5th Coastal Defense Division of the Somali War Zone. Basically, my job is to get rid of trash like these guys who interfere with our business. Interfere with your business? You mean them? Mutaba pointed toward several boats approaching from the distance. Though blind, his directional sense was sharp. Yeah. Somali pirates. These guys just won't quit. I wonder how many more idiots I'll have to kill today. Kid, I don't know how you managed to sneak up on me, but in this situation, you'd better run. Mutaba began walking to the other side of the ship. Looks like this job's a bust. Total waste of time. No, the mission must be completed. Renji smiled, pulling a remote from his pocket and flipping a switch. Boom! A massive explosion roared out, engulfing the approaching boats in flames. My goal's the same as yours. Kill every enemy in sight. Renji said, grinning at the burning ships. I used extra explosives to make sure no one could jump ship and escape. Is that so? Mutaba chuckled. He found the kid. Interesting. But was that really okay? I heard one of those ships had hostages on board. Doesn't matter. My mission is to kill, not rescue. Protecting hostages isn't part of my job. Renji smiled. Besides, they fed our side false intel. If they didn't die today, I'd probably blow up them and their families another day. Lucky them, really. Now Mutaba thought. This kid was terrifying. Renji turned to him and asked, Mutaba Jizenga, do you think life has value? Depends on the place. In peaceful regions, life is precious. In war zones, it's worthless. That's your take? Mine's a little different. Renji stepped closer and placed his small hand on Mutaba's arm. Everyone's life has equal value. A life in peace is a life. A life in war is still a life. That's why I can kill in war zones or in peaceful places. Life is equal. When it's time to disappear, no one escapes. The so-called unit value principle is just a fantasy cooked up by economists. In reality, there's something called disparity. Some are rich beyond belief, others die for a single dollar. For someone dying of thirst in a desert, a cup of water is worth more than its weight in gold. Renji's words sent chills down even the experienced Mutaba's spine. In other words, it's not others who determine value, but oneself. Renji's smile twisted. Life is precious is something I say for others. If I decide someone's life is worthless, then when I take it, I don't feel guilt. Because it's trivial. For some reason, all of Mutaba's mercenary instincts were screaming for him to run. The true danger wasn't the pirates, but this boy. Jizenga, I see value in you. Renji extended his hand. My teammates died because of false intel from these scum. I need replacements. A merc like you is exactly what I need. I'm valuable to you? That's right. Irreplaceable. Though blind, Mutaba could feel a crushing pressure from the boy before him. And within that pressure was an irresistible pull. As if possessed, he placed his hand in Renji's. Second Lieutenant Renji, you. I'm not a second lieutenant anymore. Just a high school student. Renji smiled. For some reason, Mutaba couldn't sense that overwhelming killing intent anymore. How to put it? Even though he knew this was the same superior officer from back then, he felt completely different. Like a girl in love? Were you just thinking something rude? Absolutely not. Feeling the familiar bloodlust again, Mutaba replied instantly. Chapter 158, Post a status update. You left the unit 2 years ago. Still working as a merc? Yeah, but I was recently hired by Iwami Heavy Industries. Mutaba laughed. They offered a huge sum, said I'd be someone's fighter. Between the woman and the money, I agreed. I'm guessing the woman was the bigger draw. Renji remembered clearly. Back then, whenever his team went off to visit certain establishments, Mutaba's expenses were always the highest. He once looked at the expense report and genuinely doubted whether any normal person could spend that much in a nightclub. How could one man blow through that amount in a single night? Still, Renji signed off on the reimbursement. They parted ways after Renji transferred to the Middle East Operations Division, and Mutaba became a free agent again. Speaking of Iwami Heavy Industries, aren't they in the arms business too? But all sales are under EU control. Renji smiled. Didn't expect you to end up working for them. I refused at first. But the money was too good. Mutaba grinned darkly. Then he remembered something and asked, are you a fighter too, Lieutenant? If Renji was one of the competitors, Mutaba would withdraw from the Kengan matches immediately. After spending time with him years ago, Mutaba knew Renji's strength. It was something no normal human could handle. Unlike most fighters who sought victory, Mutaba sought survival. That was the mercenary mindset. Maximize gains and minimize risk. Fighting Renji was not a calculated risk. It was a suicide mission. No need to worry. I'm not a fighter. That's a relief. Mutaba smiled and finally noticed Karura beside Renji. Not bad, Lieutenant. Got yourself a girlfriend? Yep. Hey, you've finally reached the age where you need a woman, huh? Don't lump me in with guys like you who gets rock hard with every girl they see. We're just dating for now. Rinji laughed. Killing requires efficiency. Dating is all about the process. That said, Rinji was also the type who'd go straight to the marriage office if someone confessed to him. His understanding of romance was purely theoretical. Incidentally, most of that theory came from Ishigami Yu. Then I'll leave you to enjoy the process. Mutaba chuckled and turned to leave. He wanted to reminisce more with his former superior, but clearly now wasn't the time. The main tournament still had a long way to go. When Rinji brought Karura to the deck, they arrived just in time for sunrise. The ocean sunrise was breathtaking, the eastern sky stained with vibrant orange and red. The two stood at the railing, watching the sun slowly rise. To be honest, neither of them cared much for the scenery. If they hadn't become a couple, neither would have bothered coming out. What they really cared about was each other. Rinji stared at the sun for a few seconds before shifting his gaze to Karura. Maybe it was the sunlight, but his cheeks reddened slightly. He gently touched the back of her hand with his own, then mustered his courage and held it. He glanced at Karura's reaction. She didn't seem to mind at all. Which made sense. She was already aiming to make babies. Holding hands was nothing to her. Oh, right. Karura turned to him and said, "Can you send me a copy of that photo we took together?" Of course. Rinji let go of Karura's hand, pulled out his phone from his pocket, and opened the photo album. After the two exchanged line accounts, Rinji sent Karura the photo they had taken together. Karura smiled happily after receiving it, her finger tapping the phone screen repeatedly. What's up? Since Rinji is my future husband, I need to let people know. Karura held her phone screen up to Rinji. She had posted their photo on Twitter, complete with some youthful and lively emoji-filled text announcing that she had a boyfriend. Though she lacked common sense in some areas, she was still a high school girl in her prime. With the influence of her surroundings, she was familiar with these trendy things. I see. Oh right, I forgot I should post something too. Rinji slapped his forehead, picked up his phone, and posted the photo as a status update with the caption, "I finally found a girlfriend, ha 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 send." The post was now live on his feed. Perfect? It was just past sunrise, around 5:00 a.m. Everyone was probably still asleep, so replies would take a few hours. Well then, Karura, it's about time we head back. Rinji said with a smile. If we don't return soon, your great-grandfather might start worrying. Okay. Will Rinji come to my room? Karura asked expectantly. Next time. Truthfully, Rinji was still very cautious about that sort of thing. Around noon, 12:00 p.m., Rinji woke up in his room just in time for lunch. Having just gotten a girlfriend, he had been so excited alone in his room that he couldn't fall asleep. Fortunately, he eventually did doze off. There were still a few hours until they arrived at their destination. The upcoming main event was the real highlight. Though all Rinji really wanted was to go home and register their marriage, Karura seemed genuinely excited about the Kengan matches. She had clearly said she enjoyed watching him knock people out. So he stayed. What time is it now? Rinji yawned and reached for his phone beside the bed. And what he saw was alarming. Dozens of missed calls. Chapter 159, you might be getting scammed. Why so many missed calls all of a sudden? Still groggy and not yet washed up, Rinji was confused. He quickly checked who had called. 1 from Miyuki Shirogane. 7 from Shirogane. 3 from Maihai Asaka. And 44 from Ryuju Momo. What the hell? Did something happen in Tokyo while I was gone? Just as he was about to call back, his phone rang again. It was from Fujiwara Chika. She's calling too? Must be serious. Rinji's expression sharpened, and he quickly answered. Hello? Secretary Fujiwara. Please stay calm. Deep breaths. Summarize what happened in as few words as possible. Don't worry, I'll head back immediately. What are you talking about, Dakeman-kun? On the other end, Fujiwara Chika sounded totally confused. I just wanted to ask when you're free to practice our ensemble piece together at school again. That's all? What do you mean, that's all? Fujiwara snapped. Are you trying to skip practice, Dakeman-kun? No, I mean. Nothing bad happened, right? Why would something bad happen? I mean, like. No mysterious organization invaded Tokyo, or there wasn't a terrorist attack or something. You really love your wild fantasies, don't you? And they're always dangerous ones. Fujiwara sighed. Anyway, Japan is very peaceful today. As long as nothing happened, it's fine. I got so many calls early this morning, I thought something was seriously wrong. Relieved, Rinji suddenly remembered something. Oh right, Secretary Fujiwara, did you see my status update? You mean online? What did you post? I got a girlfriend. Rinji said. At this point, his mode was to brag to anyone he could. A girlfriend? Eh? Fujiwara Chika screamed once registered. Why the sudden shout? Is it really that surprising I have a girlfriend? Of course it is. I thought you were the type no one would ever want. You want me to fly over there and smack you? Rinji grumbled, forehead twitching. Fujiwara hesitated, then cautiously asked, Dakuman-kun. Do you really have a girlfriend? As true as can be. And hey, aren't you the one always obsessed with romance? Why do you sound so disinterested? No, I just... It's way too fast. Summer break's only a month in and you already got a girlfriend? Yep. Met her yesterday. You became a couple the day you met? Yup. Can I ask what happened before you two started dating? Sure. She tried to beat me up the moment she showed up. I took her down. Then she said she wanted to have a baby with me. I figured that was a confession, so I agreed. We started dating. All that in 5 minutes. Rinji said with a grin. Why the sudden silence? Dakuman-kun. I don't know if I should say this, but... Permission granted. You might be getting scammed. You're the scam, Fujiwara con artist Chika. But seriously, think about it calmly. She protested. What kind of normal romance starts with someone saying they want to have a baby the second they meet you? It makes no sense. You really think that's normal? Maybe it was love at first sight. Have you stopped thinking altogether? Fujiwara buried her face in her hands, exhausted. Everyone at school called her a hopeless romantic, but she thought Rinji's intelligence nosedived even faster when he caught feelings. Anyway, that's how it is. Please give me your blessing, Secretary Fujiwara. Wait. Rinji hung up before she could say more. If he kept listening, she might ruin his just got a girlfriend good mood. He scrolled through his timeline and checked the post with him and Garuda. A few replies had already come in. Miyuki Shirigane, congrats. Yu Uishigami, you traitor. But congrats anyway. Shirigane. Ryuju Momo, please explain. Miyuki Shirigane, you should answer K's call. She seemed really mad. I already got hit this morning. Shirigane replying to Miyuki, shut up. Die. Rinji. Why such a big reaction? And why did the president get punched by K? Earlier that morning, at the Shirigane household. Shirigane woke up and stretched. She could already hear someone washing up. Her older brother, Miyuki Shirigane, had landed a great job with company car pickup every day. Something she knew Rinji had helped arrange. While her brother went to work every day, K was stuck at home during summer break, except when she went out with Moa and Chika. She often felt bored. What's Rinji doing right now? Maybe working too? She'd really wanted to go out with Rinji over summer break. Not with a group. Just the two of them. Face slightly red, K picked up her phone. Maybe he had posted something. If he was bored at home too, then maybe. A 5 a.m. post? K immediately spotted Rinji's new update. She clicked in excitedly, but 5 seconds later her expression froze. Up early during summer break? Miyuki came into the room after washing up and smiled, unaware of his sister's face. Bro. Rinji has a girlfriend. K said in a shaky voice. Huh? Look. She handed him her phone, showing the intimate photo of Rinji and Kara. It's real. What do I do? What do you mean what do you do? You should congratulate him. She's practically your sister-in-law. And that girl's pretty amazing, huh? Making the first move on Rinji. Why are you so sure she confessed first? Because Rinji told me before that if a girl ever confessed to him, he'd go straight to register the marriage. Thinking back, that's actually kind of funny, ha ha ha. 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 Miyuki Shirigane's laughter faltered as he saw Shirigane walking toward him with empty, dead eyes. My lovely little sister? Why didn't you tell me earlier? Thud. Miyuki took a hard punch to the stomach. Chapter 160, take him back in any case. I should call back first. Without hesitation, Rinji prioritized calling Ryuju Momo. No choice. She had called the most times. Within seconds, the call connected. Hello. Rinji. What do you mean you already have a girlfriend? Before Rinji could say anything, Momo was already yelling at him. Oh, so you saw my post too? Rinji chuckled. Yeah. I was lucky. I went out to sea for a business event yesterday, and just happened to get confessed to. I said yes. Did you two know each other before? Momo's voice suddenly went cold. Nope. And you agreed right after she confessed? Well, come on, she confessed. Why wouldn't I say yes? Unbelievable. Her voice was tinged with helplessness and frustration, though Rinji didn't pick up on it. Let me ask you something. Momo said from the other end. If a girl had confessed to you before this, would you have said yes? Of course. Rinji answered without hesitation. And that very decisiveness nearly made Momo crush her phone in Tokyo. If. I'm just saying if. Momo said, barely holding back the urge to throw her phone. If I had confessed to you before this, would you have been my boyfriend? Haha, Momo-senpai, you're joking. Shut up. Just answer the question. Oh. After a brief pause, Rinji replied. Absolutely. Well, anyway, I've got a girlfriend now. If you're going to give me your blessing. Oh, then. I'll wish you the best, I guess. Beep. Momo ended the call right after saying that. She glanced at the screen and tossed the phone aside. Give her blessing? As if she was going to find a way to steal him back. I'm serious, Kaguya Shinomiya looked worriedly at Ai Asaka, who had been swaying and unsteady all morning. From early on, her usually composed and efficient maid had been off. Getting clothes mixed up while cleaning, even bumping into walls. Things I would never normally do. Are you feeling unwell, Ai? Maybe we should go to the hospital today? I'm fine. Kaguya-sama, there's nothing wrong. No, you really don't look fine at all. Kaguya stepped forward, touching Ai's forehead with concern. No fever. Please don't worry, Kaguya-sama. It's a personal matter. I said, gently brushing Kaguya's hand away and stumbling as she tried to leave. She had seen Renji's post that morning. She had called him a few times but got no answer. That's why she was so unsettled now. Wait. Buzz. Just as Kaguya reached out to stop her, her own phone buzzed in her pocket. It was a call from Fujiwara Chika. Really, why is Fujiwara calling right now? A bit exasperated, Kaguya answered, Sorry, Fujiwara-san, I'm in the middle of something. It's an emergency, Kaguya-san. Chika's voice was frantic. Takuman-kun got scammed. Huh? Kaguya froze for a second. Who in their right mind would try to scam someone that dangerous? Are they suicidal? What happened? Takuman-kun found a girlfriend. What? But judging from how he described it, it's probably a scam. Fujiwara said anxiously. A girl he just met told him she wanted to have a baby with him, and he just agreed right then and there. This. Kaguya felt overwhelmed. Too much info too fast. Rinji getting a girlfriend, someone wanting a baby, maybe a scam? It was a lot to take in. At that moment, Ai Asaka pressed her ear close to Kaguya's phone and gestured for her to let Chika keep talking. Though unsure why, Kaguya complied. Could you explain everything clearly, Fujiwara-san? So, I was going to invite Takuman-kun to the music room for ensemble practice today, but he said he wasn't around and also told me he had a girlfriend. Then after I pushed a bit, he said they met and started dating within 5 minutes. Right after they fought. Then why did they start dating? Kaguya asked while glancing at Ai beside her. She was beginning to see why I had been acting weird this morning. Because the girl said she wanted to have his baby. Doesn't that sound like a scam to you? Chika sounded very worried. He's part of the student council too, right? We can't just let him get tricked. Yeah. That's not good. Something definitely felt off, but Kaguya still said that. After assuring Chika she'd look into it and telling her not to worry, Kaguya ended the call. So that's what happened. Rinji got scammed. Why do you sound suddenly full of energy now? If he got tricked, then I need to rescue him from that woman. I said, eyes sparkling. Wait, do you seriously believe Takuman-kun's the kind of guy who gets tricked easily? Actually, yeah, he kinda is. That gullible, easily convinced personality of his made him an easy mark. Just because someone confessed, he agrees. I muttered, now back to her normal sharp self. I need to figure out a way to win him back. Seeing I recover made Kaguya feel relieved. But thinking of Rinji's quick acceptance of a confession, and remembering Ai's strange behavior this morning, Kaguya couldn't help but reflect. If she kept hesitating, and someone confessed to Miyuki and he accepted like Rinji. A sense of crisis began to grow in Kaguya's heart. This whole incident wasn't just affecting Ai Asaka. It was starting to change Kaguya's mindset as well. Chapter 161, Remember to do your summer homework by the way, what does Takuman-kun's girlfriend look like? Kaguya asked curiously. Just a seconds I pulled out her phone and opened Rinji's post, showing the photo to Kaguya. It was a close selfie of Karura clinging to Rinji's arm. Black Sclera? That should be. Yes. I said. She's from the Cure clan, 500 kilometers from Tokyo. Years ago, the Shinomiya family commissioned them to assassinate Rinji. Eh? Why didn't I know that? Because the Shinomiya main family doesn't tell you everything. I only found out by hacking into the family server back then. I said, staring at the girl in the photo. Now that I think about it, Rinji really might have been tricked. Whether or not that's just you trying to comfort yourself. Weren't you just too shocked earlier to consider this possibility? Kaguya-sama, please don't say any more. Okay. In any case, I need to start planning before Renji returns. I bit her thumbnail. We finally became friends, and now at this critical moment, it all falls apart. Let me ask something, Kaguya cautiously raised her hand. If you'd confessed during the fireworks festival when it was just the two of you, would things have turned out differently? I didn't say a word, but the slight trembling of her shoulders said it all. You regret it, don't you? The kind of regret that makes you want to dig a time machine out of a drawer? Shouldn't you be worrying about yourself, Kaguya-sama? I turned to shout at her. I was trying not to think about it, and you bring it up? You should be thinking about what to do if the president gets stolen by another girl. Why would you even say something like that? After Hayasaka I landed a critical blow on Shinomiya Kaguya. Kaguya immediately returned the favor. Today's match, both maid and mistress ended in mutual destruction. As expected of my great-granddaughter. So adorable. Back aboard the SS Kingen, after a night of partying and rest, only a few hours remained before they reached the battlefield. Cure Irio was sitting on a bench on the deck, browsing his phone, surrounded by a few vigilant members of the Cure clan. On his screen was the photo Karura had posted on Twitter yesterday. I want to keep this photo forever. Looking at the full-of-life Karura in the photo, the old man's aged face practically melted with love. He was clearly a great-granddaughter simp. But still. His face suddenly tightened, his aura intensifying. Pointing at the blonde boy standing beside Karura in the photo, he bellowed, "That brat next to her ruins the whole shot. He's such an eyesore." Spinning around, Irio glared at the stoic members of his clan. Which one of you knows Photoshop? Get rid of this annoying blonde brat. Grandpa, you're really something else. Kyoreichi sighed and pulled out his phone. Send it to me. Alright. Irio forwarded the photo of Renji and Karura to him. Reichi opened up a photo editing app, then stared at the image a bit helplessly. The two of them took up 90% of the picture, and they were clinging tightly to each other. Editing this would be tough. Huh? Got it. He seemed to realize something, picked up the stylus, and made a few strokes. Then he zoomed out and looked at the image with satisfaction. Grandpa, how's this? Let me see. As he took the phone, Irio's tightly knit brows suddenly relaxed, his mouth curling into a creepy, but actually very joyful smile. Nice, nice. That's much better to look at. In truth, Reichi didn't delete Renji at all. He just used a brush tool to lengthen his hair and added a slight blush to his cheeks. Very good. Nothing wrong with two girls having fun together. It's great that Garuda's made a friend her age. Reichi. Well, as long as the old man's happy. Speaking of which, where's Karura? Oh, she went to look for Takuman Renji the moment she got up. Crack. Irio crushed the phone in his hand. That damn brat. Grandpa. That was my phone. Elsewhere. Renji. Karura, now wearing a high school uniform she got from who knows where, threw herself into Renji's arms the second she saw him. Karura was incredibly clingy. Even if Renji didn't come looking for her, she'd always rush to be by his side. So cute. That was the word that came to Renji's mind instinctively as she nuzzled into his chest. Just earlier, he had gone through and returned all his missed calls. Momo had called quite early. He'd also spoken to Kshirigane, who only said she had something to talk about when he got back. No signs of anger. As for her tone had felt strangely subtle. Buzz. Hearing his phone vibrate in his pocket, Renji kept one arm wrapped around the snuggly Karura while answering with the other. Aunt Kaya? He didn't think much of it and answered the call. Hello? Aunt Kaya? Renji, congrats on getting a girlfriend. Kaya Sagra said over the phone. Now I can finally stop worrying. Why do you say that? Because someone can finally keep you in check. Ask her when she's transferring to Shuchen. I can help arrange it. She has to want to transfer first. Renji chuckled. Though he wanted to attend the same school as Karura, he still wanted to respect her choice. That's fine too. Oh, one more thing. What? You're a high schooler now. Don't forget to finish your summer homework. Renji felt his heart seize. It was already well into summer break. And he hadn't touched a single page. Note, a lot of readers are getting suspicious with how much gay shit is appearing in the fic. But don't worry, the author stated that he will reduce the mech's interaction with Miyuki, and the author just really wants to highlight the original setting of Kaguya-sama Love is War and the dynamic between Miyuki and Kaguya, hence he decided to write in that direction. Chapter 162, Let me copy your homework. Why did you go silent all of a sudden? And no, I'll definitely do my summer homework. Rinji said, sweating bullets. That's great to hear. Kaya said with a smile. Then her tone turned icy. You haven't even opened your homework book, have you? Oh, of course I have. You haven't done it, have you, Rinji? After a moment of silence, Rinji replied flatly, Aunt Kaya, why does summer homework even exist? Isn't summer break meant to give students time off? Homework defeats the whole purpose. Knew it. You didn't do it. Kaya sighed. Summer homework is to enrich students' break time and help them review and fill knowledge gaps. Aunt Kaya, I'm ranked number 2 in our grade. Can't I skip homework? Nope. Even if you were dead last, you'd still have to do it. If you don't finish it before school starts. Gulp. Hearing her voice from the phone, Rinji swallowed hard. I'll tell your mother. You're a demon. There's no helping it. Your mom told you when you came to Japan. You're to listen to me. Kaya said calmly. There's no point telling your idiot dad. It's more effective to talk to your mother. You'd resort to snitching like that? Watch your tone. It's called a home visit. As your teacher, I have an obligation to communicate with your guardians. She said. I don't care if you're a lieutenant in his Middle East operations, the founder's son, or a mass murderer with countless bodies on your hands. Right now, you're a high school student, and you will do your homework. That's all. Don't let me down, Rinji. Kaya suddenly smiled. Getting a girlfriend is something to celebrate. Don't forget to tell your parents the good news. Beep. Call ended. Rinji's face was already drenched in sweat. Reporting to his mom. Was that even something a human being would do? His mother wasn't scary. In fact, she was practically perfect, never once scolding him growing up. But somehow, Rinji always turned into the perfect little boy around her, getting nervous even if she showed the slightest hint of disappointment. As for his dad, Rinji's favorite pastime was dunking on him every chance he got. What's wrong, Rinji? Karuri looked up, her big black eyes full of concern. Oh, nothing. I just forgot to do my homework. Staring at his phone, Rinji began thinking of a solution. Do it himself? Too much trouble. Copy someone else's? But who? Miyuki and Momo were both second years. Their assignments were different. Among the first years. I know Maiko? No way she'd let him copy, that rule-abiding stickler. Which left? Hello? Hey, Ishigami, I need a favor. Ah, Rinji, perfect timing. Ishigami said cheerfully. I've got a favor to ask too. Huh? What is it? Did you finish your summer homework? Let me copy it. Ishigami, that's just wrong. Rinji suddenly spoke with deep conviction. Summer homework should be completed independently. It's meant to enrich students' break and help review class content. That kinda makes sense. Realizing there was no way he could get Rinji's homework, Ishigami sighed in disappointment. Right, what were you calling about? How much of your homework have you done? Lend me a copy. Did you just throw your own words out the window? Yup. You admitted it without shame. Ishigami sighed again, looking at the room full of game consoles, DVDs, and the untouched stack of homework on his desk. Looks like neither of us did it. Yup, we're doomed. Rinji groaned. Ishigami, do you know any other first years we could borrow from? You know it too, don't you? I don't really have friends in class. What a coincidence. I don't either. The situation hit a deadlock. Think. Is there any way to solve this? Maybe there is. Rinji suddenly remembered someone. Back when Momo sent him to the casino to deal with a girl from the private Hyaku Academy. Her name was Jabami Yumiko. She lost a huge amount of money to him, and until she repaid every cent, she had to obey his every command. She was essentially his slave. But until now, he had completely forgotten about her. It was time to make use of her again. He hung up on Ishigami, opened line, found Jabami Yumiko, and started a voice call. Before long, the call connected. Hello? Rinji-kun, you finally remembered me? On the other end was Yumiko's cheerful voice. She didn't seem at all bothered that her creditor was calling. Shut up. Got the money ready yet? Almost. I think I'll be able to pay it all back with interest in another 2 months. She laughed. Good. By the way, have you enrolled yet? Not yet. Since I lost to you, I'll be starting after summer break. Yumiko giggled. So, what can I do for you this time? No matter what it is, I'll do as you command. That's what I like to hear. Do my homework. First year summer homework. You should be able to handle it, right? Do it for me. Sure thing. Yumiko was momentarily surprised but quickly agreed. But my grades in academics aren't that great. Is it okay if I get a bunch wrong? That's fine. Wait. Rinji suddenly realized. He was ranked second in the entire grade. If the homework had too many mistakes, it would be suspicious. Then. And the handwriting would be different too. Aren't you worried a teacher might notice? Forget it. You're useless now. Get lost. Such a cruel evaluation. He hung up and let out a long sigh. Looks like he'd have to write it himself after all. Chapter 163, the obligatory swimsuit episode. Found in every slice of life. The official tournament site was a place called Ganru Island. It was an island bought by Kengan Association's chairman, Katahiro Matsudo, to serve as the final battleground for the warriors. Everyone gathered at the bow of the ship, staring at the island slowly emerging on the horizon. Each person wore a different expression. Some nervous, some excited, some anxious, others deep in thought. They were all waiting for the moment the ship would dock. Waiting for the thrill that came right before the elimination matches began. Everyone. Except for one. He wasn't excited or expectant. He was doing homework. Inside a bedroom on the SS Kengan, Rinji had printed out the summer homework from school and was now writing furiously. Damn it. So much homework over summer break. You teachers are really something. When I get back to school after finishing this, I'll send you all to Africa to help teach over there. His eyes were bloodshot as his pen flew across the paper, almost sparking from friction. He had just gotten a girlfriend and wanted to spend more time with Karura, but one call from Kaya forced him to drop everything and return to his homework. It wasn't that he didn't have enough days left to finish it. It was just that with summer ending soon, he needed to make time for Karura. Okay, math's done. After 4 hours of battle, he finally completed all of his math assignments. Next up were the rest of the subjects. Bang. Just as he laid out a few sheets of classical literature homework, the door burst open. Karura ran in and hugged him from behind. Rinji, we've arrived. Time to get off the ship. Yeah, alright. Rinji smiled, crumpled the papers on his desk, shoved them into his bag, and walked out of the cabin hand in hand with the bouncing Karura. Members of the Kengan Association. Thank you for your long journey. Welcome to Ganru Island. As soon as they disembarked, they were greeted by rows of sexy, swimsuit-clad hostesses, prompting many of the men to shout ooh. Despite his age, Katahiro Matsudo clearly knew how to enjoy life. Ganru Island was essentially a self-contained resort in the middle of the ocean, fully equipped with everything needed. Amid the blazing summer, beaches, the sea, and bikini beauties were a welcome sight. After disembarking, everyone changed into swimsuits and relaxed before the upcoming showdown. A few fighters, seeing the beauties on the beach, eagerly began chatting them up. What a great place. Rinji, now in a Hawaiian shirt and sunglasses, lay down under a beach umbrella and pulled out his homework sheets. Sure, the bikini girls were nice, and the beach was refreshing, and the entertainment was top-notch. But in Rinji's eyes, there was only homework. Rinji. A familiar voice called out. Rinji turned his head to see Karura, now in a bikini. Her swimsuit was quite minimal, revealing her entire figure to him. A perfect golden ratio body, no excess fat anywhere, with defined abs on her flat stomach, and a well-developed chest that didn't match her identity as a 16-year-old student. She ran up to Rinji and wrapped herself around his arm, her softness pressing against him. Let's go play. Sure. Rinji immediately tossed aside the pen and homework sheets. Summer homework. What's that? On the beach, the entrepreneurs and fighters were letting loose. Since the main event started the next day, this was their only time to unwind. Karura clung to Rinji's arm as they strolled casually along the beach. From time to time, they passed fighters playing beach volleyball or taking group photos. Even though they'd be mortal enemies in tomorrow's matches, right now they were carefree and friendly. Ah! Watch out! A whistling sound cut through the air. A volleyball came flying toward Rinji and Karura. Rinji heard it and casually lifted his hand, smacking the ball back in the direction it came. The person who had shouted the warning caught the ball, but stumbled back a few steps from the impact. Whoa! That was heavy. When he looked up and saw Rinji's face, he immediately dropped the ball and jogged over. Hey, you're Takuman Rinji, right? You know me? The one who approached was a blonde-haired boy about Rinji's age. 18 or 19 at most. He had a cute face but a muscular build, clearly a fighter, not an entrepreneur. I saw you during the prelims. You're a strong fighter, aren't you? He extended his hand. I'm Imai Cosmo. We might be opponents tomorrow. Nice to meet you. Rinji smiled and shook Cosmo's hand. But you're mistaken. I'm not a fighter. I'm a member of the Kengan Association. Huh? You're an entrepreneur? Yep. Currently the CEO of Amano Pharmaceuticals. Wow, amazing. You look younger than me too. Cosmo was surprised. I only started the company recently. Rinji chuckled. He glanced around and noticed several well-known fighters. Some of whom weren't just active underground but had appeared on TV. Thailand's Thai god of war Kaolan Wongzawat, a famous boxer. King of combat Naoya Okubo, an MMA champion. There were also some that, in Rinji's eyes, seemed weak. But were still far above normal people. After Cosmo went back to playing volleyball, Rinji was planning to take Kara elsewhere. But just then, a massive figure blocked his path. Long time no see, Takam and Rinji. Looking at the towering man with a trace of killing intent in his expression,